Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, all right. Like you always say, welcome, welcome, welcome. Number one sports talking D. We ain't like the Falcons, we won't blow the lead. Look, all we talk is who that, who got cut and who back. Rookies in the vets, players you should look at. It's the sports coma, you don't wanna miss it. Got the pre-game, party, post-game statistics. Get a visit from Sway, maybe DC or 5. It's the hottest thing smoking, Big Q and the guys. Go to YouTube Live, make sure you subscribe. Interviews inside the Saints locker room high. Talk to Drew, Jordan, Zach, Payton, New Orleans, who that nation. Best believe when I say we bleed gold and black. Ain't a miracle or rivalry could ever hold us back. No, Beastquake, Bounty Gate, let the truth be told. It's the sports coma, all we know is say Super Bowl.
Yeah. You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Who that fam? What it do, fam? How it do? What it do? Welcome to another live version of the Sports Coma live in effect. Good to see all the beautiful black and gold family members in the building and the live stream. We up in this piece. Good to see the family chiming in another Saturday. Family, who that to the beautiful black and gold family members in the building. Big ups to you. And I see all the family chiming in on this wonderful episode, middle of the Saturday show. Big ups to the family. Kevin, who that Kevin? First in the chat, Superstar. What up, Superstar Louisiana boy? He said, we ain't done yet. We about to put our foot on their throat. Big Q is about to get real. That's right, family. What up to you? Robert Clark, who that to you, family? Good to see you on the line. Kenny Sutton, who that to you? Torrey Shepard, who that to you? Jamal Kellop, who that to you? Elite Goods, who that to you? Travis 504, who that to you? Kevin said we got to run the ball this year. We got to run it. I agree with you, Kev. School, what up, School? My dog, School been in the building. Who that to you? The Truth says, who that? All we need now is a legit slot receiver on offense. And the truth is the truth with that statement. Who that to you? The Truth. Go black and gold. Who that to you? Go black and gold. Good to see you, fam. Kyle Davis, my dog Kyle in the stream. He says, as of right now, we have our best foot forward. Thank you, Kyle. Who that to you, fam? As well as the rest of the family members. True Louisiana, who that to you? He says, just chilling. He says, watching all the virus spread movies on Netflix. All of a sudden, LOL. How about, okay. Yeah, it's a different world real quick. You know, it really is. We'll cover some of that as well in the show as well. Good to see some of the family members. Dr. Key, who that to you, Dr. Key? Says, let's get it, fam. Big Q, we speak everything into existence. That's why we are the Great Saints Think Tank. That's right. That's right, Dr. Key. And Dr. Key has the prescription for the affliction. That's right, family. Dr. Key, big ups to you, Dr. Key. And all the beautiful Black and Gold family members in the building, good to see you in the live stream. Please hit the like button. American Reality, who that to you, fam? Let's see, Darren Ahan. Darren had Ahan 711, is that it? Who that to you, Darren? Good to see you, family. Ryan Farrell, what's up, Ryan? How you doing, fam? He says, hopefully we get a defensive line, a DL, a OL, and more secondary help from the draft. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. Tramal, big ups once again. Shedrick, who that to you, Shedrick? Good to see your fam in the building as well. Davinder Rai, who that to you, fam? Good to see you as well. Dylan, good to see you in the building. Dylan says Saints need one more receiver. Thank you, Dylan. Big ups to you. Smitty in the building as well. Big ups to you, Smitty. Say I'm hoping for Traquan to step up this year. I'm with you on that one, Smitty, no doubt about it. Let's see who else we got there, man. Bunch of family members joining in the stream as well. All the family. Dallas Allen, who that to you? Kyle Walter, who that to you? Chris Rooks, who that to you? G. Reed, who that to you? Jared Slack, who that to you? Quincy, who that to you? Jermaine, who that to you? James Taylor, who that to you? Dominic Evans, who that to you? Who that to all the beautiful Black and Gold family members? Ramsey Walls, who that to you? Ramsey. Hennessy Bastion, who that to you? Hennessy. Sean D, who that to you? Fam. Robert Parker, who that to you? Robert. Ernest Adams Jr., who that to you? Ernest. Man, we got all the beautiful Black and Gold family members. This is the Great Saints Think Tank, known as the Sports Coma. We are live and in effect. Troy Thompson, who that to you? Fam. Good to see all the beautiful Black and Gold family members. Nobody do that, man. We got it. It's not about me. It's about you, man. It's about the Great Saints Think Tank, man. That's why I acknowledge all my family members when they chime up in this piece, man. You know what I'm saying? Your words is as valuable as mine. That's how I look at it. And we in the building, family. Now we got a lot to talk about. Now, last week we did a lot of shows covering a lot of news. Of course, I wanted to do a show dealing with Sean Payton and what happened with him, but it was, and some other stuff occurred, and I said, you know what, might as well just save it for the Saturday show. We got about 3 or 4 hours we're going to kick them with, and we're going to have to just drop it on them, and that's what we decided to do. So feel free, family, to please hit the like button upon the stream live stream. Good to see a lot of beautiful Black and Gold family members in the building, over 50 people in the stream so far. Big ups to you. Who that to you? And of course, big ups. I want all my family members to stay safe. I know y'all tired of hearing about all that foolishness out there. So it is my responsibility to take your minds off of that foolishness and just for a couple hours to provide you some entertainment. So it's good to see the family members in the building and well. Gundam 13, who that to you? DLP 2600, who that to you? Till the legend in the building, who that to you? Till. And all the family members are in. Derek, my dog Derek L is in the building. Who that to you? So that's what I'm saying. See, it's all good. It's like we at the award ceremony somewhere, and I got the mic and they got a red curtain or whatever. And then every time I announce somebody, they come from behind the curtain and they start waving. Devin just says, what's the Twitter handle? It is the Sports Coma on Twitter, family. Sports Coma, just put the Sports Coma in there. And you can also find all the social media links on the YouTube page in the About section, or you can look in the description section. I think they're listed there as well. So, but good to see some of the family members as well chiming in the live stream. And we got a lot to talk about today. Smitty says Bucks got 43-year-old QB, Falcons got a running back with bad knees, and the Panthers got our backup free agency. We're still at the top of the mountain. Let's go black and gold. I agree with you, Smitty. Chris says Brady doesn't have anything for us this year. You can't move in the pocket. That's how you got to get to him. You got to tear him up. Let's see, but that's the reality. Gundam says, Big Q, I think Sean Payton is listening to the show, bro. Sean said the Saints office is going to be almost as scared as the damn China crud. Yeah, I know, fam. I know, bro. But I know they are. I know they are, Gundam. I've been telling you that. I told you there are several admitted players that listen to the Sports Code, several of them, and that continues to grow. AJ Klein, Alex Anzalone, C.O. Calamente, it's a bunch of them. Demario Davis, and as many sportscasters that follow the show, because the type of how we deliver the impactfulness of the Saints content we talk, nobody do that to you. Boss Hog, who that to you? Boss Hog, I see you, baby. Who that to you? Okula McGee, who that to you? Okula in the building. What's up, baby? But that's what I'm saying, fam. Donovan, who that to you? Donovan Grayson in the building. Who that? Now, I'm going to talk about all that today. We got a bevy of different topics I'm going to hit y'all with. We're going to get into it. We're going to cover all this stuff. We're going to talk about what's this one? The first up the bat. We're going to cover the stuff with Emmanuel Sanders. The Saints were able to address and get Emmanuel Sanders. And I keep telling people, don't worry about the money. Larry Williams, who that to you? Larry, I see your family. But that's what I'm saying. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about it. We're going to cover that. Daryl is snarling, who that to you? Don't worry about the money. Didn't I tell you that, GM Kev? I told my boy GM Kev that. I told him, I said, listen, GM Kev, don't worry about the money because none other move money around. Lori Hackler, who that to you, Lori? Good to see you, babe. But none other move money around better than the magical ability of the Mickey Mouse one. Mickey Loomis moves money around unlike any other. So we're going to talk about Emmanuel Sanders. We're going to talk about, of course, Andrus Peat getting paid a very significant contract, locking him up here for the next 5 years and solving your left guard position. Now you're getting this. Are you getting a theme here? Are you getting a theme here? The Malcolm Jenkins deal, then it was admitted that Malcolm Jenkins was signed after they tried to go after Von Bell. Did y'all hear that little giblet? Did you hear that giblet? That Von Bell played itself. Like Clayton Thomas say, stick a quad up, you know what? Because you played yourself. But that's the reality, man. At the end of the day, is that Von Bell could have been signed to the black and gold. He said no. He thought he can get more money open market. So they went and got Malcolm Jenkins. That's a nice little giblet. Emmanuel Sanders turned the Packers and the Cowboys down to come and play for the Saints. That's another little giblet. Tyra, who that to you, baby? Good to see you in the live stream as well. Big ups to you. Then ultimately, we're going to talk about other players that were signed, special teams players as well, like Justin Hardy. And then, of course, reworking and optioning in of deals. We cover it all today on the Sports Coma. So I like to ask everybody to hit the like button. If you aren't a subscriber to the show, feel free to subscribe now. And we're going to give into it. Kevin said this team getting old, Q. There's only a handful of players with 2-year deals, Kev. And actually, that's a bridge to where you need to be. And then the age you say is old. No. If you look at I'm going to show you some numbers from Emmanuel Sanders that'll show you that Emmanuel Sanders is going to be he's going to be a severe upgrade over a Ted Ginn Jr. Emmanuel Sanders can do a lot that Ted Ginn Jr. couldn't do. His issues over the years was injuries. But he's 33, but still very impactful and still will be very impactful in the Saints offense. Let's get that straight. So the Saints addressed a series of question marks that we have in a few days. The left guard position, who's going to play there? Well, Andrus Peat is back. Are we seeing a theme here now, family? Are we seeing the theme here? Are we seeing the theme? The theme is the Saints are re-signing, and possibly there could have been no Malcolm Jenkins if Von Bell would have said, okay, I'll take the money. He would have came back and played. You see? The Saints felt comfortable with the market wasn't for Andrus Peat. The Saints said, you know what? We're going to have to address the market. It could have been Tunney if the Patriots wouldn't have franchise tagged him. But the Saints said, you know what? Andrus Peat is versatile. We can use him at 4 positions on the offensive line. He knows our system. There's no learning curve there. We can just plug him on in there and play. A lot of people don't like that move, but listen. Andrus Peat is still ascending in his playing career. He's not decreasing. I think he will get better, and with this new deal, it'll give him something to work up to. Almost like what happened with Mike Thomas. When some of these players, you say, okay, let's see if this guy can work himself up into the contract. He's got good money, so the pressure's on. It's going to be on him to ascend. But you cannot discount the fact that Andrus Peat he plays 4 positions, can move around if somebody was to get harmed or hurt. Remember, you still have Teron Armstead on the blind side of the quarterback. And when Teron goes there, the Saints 2-step is to set up here and put Andrus Peat over there. So I'm telling you, it's familiarity over anything. And Emmanuel Sanders fits well next to Mike Thomas. I'm going to just keep it real with you. He does. Welcome to the live stream, all the beautiful black and gold family members. Please hit the like button upon entering. Heavy C. Henderson, I see your family. Good to see you in there. Who that to you as well, as we get some of this cracked off. Now, I'm going to start it off, family. I gave a shout out to all the beautiful black and gold family members of the building. Welcome to the Sports Coma, a.k.a. the Great Saints Think Tank, man. That means the greatest collection of black and gold minds in the Saints kingdom, galaxy, world, spear, plane, whatever you believe in, that's what we are. That's who we are. Ernest Adams Jr., who that to you? Ernest, I see you, baby. Who that to you? He says, Emmanuel Sanders is fake news. Sean Payton doesn't run the ball. He will be another wide receiver, y'all. Trash in offseason if the Saints lose in the playoffs again. All right, nope. We ain't going to even address that, Ernest. Don't even worry about all that. That is not true. The Saints will run the ball. You're going to put that pressure on them. They have to run the ball this year. It will not be a repeat of what happened last year. The Saints have to run the ball. So DeWright one, what up, DeWright? Good to see you in the building, fam, from Florida. Big ups to you, and good to see you, fam. It's been a while. Let's see in the rest of them. Heavy C says, who that? Y'all love my black and gold family. Who that to you? Larry F. Dickerson. What up, Larry? Good to see you, fam. Who that to you? All the beautiful black and gold people in the building. Who that 504 boy? Who that to you, fam? I see you. Big ups to you in the building as well. Now let's move into some of the show, family. And I promise you I'm going to get to some of your questions, your concerns, and comments. I just want to I'm going to cover this news. Got about 5 or 6 stories. I'm going to spread out and talk to you in a fast manner. Then I'm going to go and open up the phone lines and allow people to chime in, because I know a lot of people have some stuff to say, and this is going to be a 3-hour, 4-hour show perhaps. So I'm going to open up the phone lines, let the family members speak their piece on what they thinking about some of these moves with the black and gold. Bottom line, it's a lot going on. So without further ado, if you allow me, we're going to start it off. We're going to start off with the first one. And the first immediate story is the Saints land Emmanuel Sanders after receiving reportedly passes on the Packers and the Cowboys, which was funny to me because both of those teams really wanted Emmanuel Sanders. It's good to see finally that Emmanuel Sanders said, nah, I'm going to go play with a contender, because the Saints, they can get it done. And I can work opposite of Mike Thomas. I'm on the road to the bowl, man. But Emmanuel, he agreed to a 2-year deal with the Saints. And that was broken by ESPN's Ed Werder and Josina Anderson. Now, Sanders says he had appealing options with the Cowboys and Packers, but preferred to wind up with the Saints, where he landed a $16 million deal, and with incentives that can put it up to $19 million. Now, quote, he still got to take a physical, but it's a done deal, end quote, he told Josina Anderson. Now, what's interesting about this move is that how really highly productive that this man is, you know. At a number 2 wide receiver, he's been the Saints' most glaring need for the past 2 years. The team was kicking on the tires on Antonio Brown, who's too controversial, Dez Bryant, who's too injury prone, Brandon Marshall, who's old, and Cameron Meredith, the same as Dez Bryant, but even worse. Now, Mike Thomas had 119 more catches than any other wide receiver on the Saints roster last year. Number 2, Ted again, we knew he was going to be out of here. He was 35. We got a guy that's a little younger. But all-pro wide receiver Mike Thomas was the man. Now, Sanders seems to be the ideal fit as he lines up he can frequently line up in the slot as well as outside, so he can help the Saints in a multitude of different ways depending on how the team chooses to employ his ability. He can catch. He still has some speed there, and he's versatile. Now he runs excellent route. Now, remember, Emmanuel Sanders is a guy. Thank you, Dada. Appreciate you. Who that to Dada? He says, Big Q, they signed my boy Sanders. Hopefully, Griffin next week. Thank you, Dada. Appreciate your donation, family. Appreciate you. And going back into the story, he is an excellent route runner. That's something Ted again wasn't. That's something. Let's take this away from this man here. Emmanuel Sanders, his biggest minus, of course, were injuries, but he appeared to have shaken that off. He is more now into a second wide receiver role, with Mike obviously being a guy. He can run the deep routes if you need it. He can line up in a slot if you need him. He's an excellent route runner, a damn good route runner. A lot of people talk about that, and he could do a multitude of things for the Saints. And a lot of them comparing his skill set to Lance Moore of a Willie Snead type. I say he's a little bit better than those guys. He said he made an impression on the Saints. Remember, he caught 7 passes for 157 yards against them in the Superdome in that 49ers matchup, and he had a 75-yard touchdown. Now, I already told you, people like that torch the Saints' ass, that make them look bad like that, the Saints always try to make it a habit of signing those guys on the team. So hopefully Everson Griffin is next. Now, I'm just going to throw that out there and leave it be. Now, let's keep on going. The Saints are extremely low on cap now and could require some additional roster moves, in which they will free up as much as they need. Now, from this point forward, now acquired from the trade deadline from 49ers last year, Sanders walked to the team's wide receiver room and was instantly the most accomplished player there. How with his reliability as a veteran, he's a good teammate, will fit well in that Saints locker room. And now a little backdrop on him is in 10 games for the Niners last season, he posted 36 catches for 502 yards, had 3 touchdowns. He started all 3 of the postseason games beyond his on-field production. He turned 33 on Tuesday, became a mentor and leader of the team's young wideouts. That's something that the Saints could use, because you're looking at Mike. Mike is a very young player. He's just really good. And you could have a really productive, respectful wide receiver like Sanders that could teach guys like a LaJordan Humphrey, like a Emmanuel Butler, and the rest of a young guy like Traquan Smith, how to run the right routes and things like that. This is a plus. Now, people might say Q is a little bit too much on the money wise, but let me tell you something, bro. You're going to have to spend a little bit this year, because if you're trying to win big blue chips, you're going to have to open up. Now, you can see his productions, his points per games over the years. You can see that the guy's been pretty productive. And now in 144 career regular season games, he is 601 catches for just over 7,800 yards and 42 touchdowns, 7,893 yards in 144 career regular season games with 601 catches and 42 touchdowns is a pretty good move for him. Now, I wasn't a fan of getting Emmanuel Sanders, and having him to come here. But after all, when the Saints say, listen, we don't want to go and get somebody a younger guy that we have to teach everything. Let's go and bring a guy in that is a veteran, that been in the thick of it, that we can count on, that we can rely on, and here he goes. Now, if you're thinking like that, then you're saying to yourself, well, I can understand why the Saints decided to make a move like picking up Emmanuel Sanders and plugging him opposite of Mike Thomas. Now, truth be told, a lot of people are going to poo-poo this deal, but the reality at the end of the day is that he is a upgrade over Ted Ginn Jr., who was 2 years older and a lot more years unproductive. So there it is. And people say, well, Q, he ain't going to throw on the ball. I beg to differ, man. I beg to differ. I think the Saints will be able to spread this ball around, because you can use Emmanuel Sanders in different ways that you couldn't use a guy like Ted Ginn Jr., who was just a one-dimensional guy, just a deep threat. Sanders can play that, or he can come inside. Look at the film on him, and then his routes are crisp. He has sure hands. It's a little pricey, but I respect the hell out of this move. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. All right, let's move on to the next story, family, which is Andrus Peat. A lot of people, don't like this one at all. But the reality is that the Saints say, you know what, man, let's go ahead on and make it happen. Let's go ahead on and bring Andrus Peat back. And they did it. And some people say, well, Q, why the hell would they even think about bringing this man in here? Why would they even consider bringing Andrus Peat back? And the reality at the end of the day is you have to look at it and say, well, hell, Andrus Peat was a guy that they were familiar with. And that's the truth be told. Now, if it's so much, but they said the Saints made a controversial move by re-signing him to a 5-year contract extension, keeping the 2-time Pro Bowl alternate and 2015 first-round draft pick in the city where he played his entire career. But retaining the versatile lineman was hardly a sure thing for the Saints. They let him go out there and test his value. They said that the Kansas City Chiefs were interested in him, but he would have replaced Winooski, who went on, I forgot when, to Pittsburgh, I think it was. So instead, the Saints said, you know what? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead on. We're going to re-up with this guy because there's no learning curve. He knows our system. We can bring him back in here and we can and stick him right in there. His versatility is plus. He plays 4 positions. And he was one of the guys I just didn't think the Saints were going to sign. But the market was not there for Andrus Peat. And the Saints seen him and said, man, let's go ahead on and bring him back. Now, that's nothing new. They were going to sign Von Bell, who decided that he could find a more lucrative deal. He was wrong. They signed Malcolm Jenkins. So Von Bell could have been back. They bringing Andrus Peat back. So it's a familiarity thing, reeing up. Hopefully they re-up with some of these younger guys. But instead, they said the Saints picked Peat because he was the best option to start at the left guard and what have you. If they would have brought another lineman in, then they would have to, he would have to learn the ropes at the left guard position. So familiarity obviously was the buzzword of the day for the Saints thus far in free agency. To be able to pick up guys like an Andrus Peat, guys like Emmanuel Sanders, guys like Malcolm Jenkins, who we covered in the middle of the week shows. Guys like these guys are guys that know the Saints system, or they're veterans that can be relied upon. See, the buzzword of the day is reliability and familiarity. Now, he does play 4 positions, like I mentioned, and a lot of people don't like the Andrus Peat contract. And for those who don't like the Andrus Peat contract, hey, I'm not mad at you. It makes him, I think, I've researched a few of these stories, and it's showing Andrus Peat to be one of the highest paid offensive linemen in the league thanks to the Saints deal. Now, according to ESPN, it puts it up there very high. It says that the deal is worth $57.5 million with $33 million guaranteed, according to a source by NFL Network reporting on it, saying that Andrus Peat, almost $58 million for Andrus Peat, $33 million of it guaranteed on the 5-year deal for the 6'7", 316-pound behemoth, former first-round draft pick. Now, he's played in 64 games for the Saints, including the playoffs during his 5-year career. He was primarily at left guard, but he's also filled in at left tackle, right guard. The guy played everything except for center. He had 2 of his best seasons in 2016 and 2017, and he was a key reason why the Saints offense ranked in the NFL's top 2 in both yards per rush and yards per attempt in 2017. He's battled some injuries and inconsistency since then. However, missing 6 games with a broken arm last season, he also played through a broken hand during the 2018 playoffs. So it's a lot of positive, more positive than negative in terms of the Saints saying, you know what? We're going to just ride it out. We're going to get Andrus Peat, bring him back. He's a multiple Pro Bowler. He plays 4 positions. We see it more as a plus than it is a minus at this juncture of time for the New Orleans Saints. A lot of people disagree with it. Crass, who that to you? Crass, I see you, baby. Who that to you? And a lot of people say, man, Q, that's a little bit too much money to spend on Pete, which is true. You're right. That is a lot of money to spend on Pete. But what can I tell you, man? What can I tell you? The Saints are comfortable with him at that left guard position, and they feel they can get good value from Andrus Peat, being that he plays not just the left guard, but he plays every other position except for center for the team. Now, just to give you a little information back on the deal with Emmanuel Sanders. The Saints inked him to a 2-year deal at $16 million. Could be up to $19 million. I'm not sprinkled that on you, but that is actually a pretty decent deal for him. And a lot of people have skeptics dealing with the Andrus Peat as well. So that's new to Andrus. Let's move on to the story about Coach Payton. A lot of people know that I give Coach Payton, I give Coach Payton some hell every now and again, but that's love. We love our coach. We love the hell out of Coach Payton. We know when we get on Coach Payton, we get on him, and that's just tough love. That's just tough love. That's how he is, because we want to see you succeed. We want to see you thrive. We want to see you shine. We want to see you do the best and have the best. So it's tough love here in the city of New Orleans. It's tough love as a black and gold member. But when our coach gets the coronavirus, we have to pray for him for a full recovery, because at the end of the day, it's football, and Coach Payton is a good coach, a really good coach, and we just want the coach and his family to be well, to get back at the end of the day. Now, this was reported Wednesday that Payton, who's 56, was the first NFL world known person in the NFL that is world known to test positive for it. And he was saying that he appreciates the well wishes, and he's feeling better and fortunate not to have any symptoms 4 days at home at the time. And big ups to Coach Payton. Once again, Coach, hurry up, get healthy, man. Stay strong, rest up. And our prayers go out to our coach, Sean Payton. I know we give him hell here on the Sports Coma, but at the end of the day, man, we love our coach, man, and we want the best for him, bottom line. So big ups to Coach Payton from the Sports Coma and the Great Saints Think Tank family, for Coach Payton and his family. Coach, get well, and we'll see you when the football season starts officially. Moving on to the next story down the line as we keep progressing. The Saints inked two players, two agreements. One was Justin Hardy, who was mostly a special teams player that we had, mostly using special teams and very seldom used at the defensive back position. And my goodness, last year we seen why they didn't use him. That whoever that little wide receiver was for whatchamacallit, he tore him up a new one. But that's the reality at the end of the day, is that Hardy got a lot to learn, man. But he comes back and agreed to terms on the contract of just for 1 year, and he is one of our core special teams members. And remember, JT Gray signed earlier this week as well. So the Saints bring JT Gray and Justin Hardy back for another year of service in the NFL. Now, he spoke last summer about the works he had to put in earn the stripes at the pro ranks. In preseason, he looked pretty good. This time around, he didn't look that good this past season, but him and JT Gray are back, and most of these guys are just special teams people. You don't want to see Justin Hardy on the field in no shape, form, or fashion. And as terms of your cornerback play, special teams play is totally fine. He still has a lot to learn as far as the cornerback skills go. And of course, the Saints did sign a fullback to compete with Ricky Ortiz, who they picked up last year, and he played scantly for him. So they signed Michael Burton. I remember Michael Burton is a former Chicago Bear fullback. He was here last preseason competing with Zach Line, who retired. And ultimately, Zach Line was able to beat him out for the deal. But now Burton, Michael Burton could be the future fullback for the Saints. Now, he spent last offseason training with the Saints, and then before joining the Redskins midway through the season, he played 68 snaps on the offense in DC, but the bulk of his time was on special teams as well, logging 177 appearances in 10 games. So that's three really interesting moves: JT Gray, Justin Hardy, and of course getting Michael Burton, not Shane, but Michael Burton into camp to compete for that fullback job against Ricky Ortiz, which I think Burton has the upper hand. Now, his prominence with the Chicago Bears before the joining the Saints will likely continue to grow in the household name if his career started a decade earlier, but the game shift away from the fullback and the run first attack. Burton's style of running, he's just an old school fullback that hopefully the Saints started to employ more in the offense. Now, he like I said, I wanted them to get CJ Ham, but the Vikings signed him away. Then you had 49ers, Kyle Juszczyk or whatever his name is. He was the type of dudes that you was looking at those versatile types. But this dude is just like one of those traditional blocker type of, he open a hole for you or get 2 or 3 yards for you. He's one of those old school tight ends like a Jed Collins or John Kuhn, those type of dudes. That's who they compare him to. So we get both Justin Hardy and Michael Burton, who maybe fills the role left by Zach Klein at the fullback position. Most interesting. Of course, in other news, the Saints pick up the options for both Marshawn Lattimore and Ryan Ramczyk in the final years of their deal. Hopefully the Saints can get this done, but this is one of the moves that the teams made underneath the radar. That's just a very nonsense move that the team would do, is just, is pick up those 5th-year options. Now the next thing is making contracts with both those men. Now, how that plays, but the Saints extension on both of them. Now, Ramczyk and Lattimore, first members of their draft class to have the options activated, speaks to how highly regarded both of these guys are. Now, how much of these options will be worth in 2020? It will keep going up because Lattimore is a shutdown cornerback. Ryan Ramczyk is a cornerstone tackle. So this is going to be interesting. Multiple Pro Bowl appearances by Lattimore, but Lattimore, he's the 11th pick out of Ohio State back in 2017. He was voted to the Pro Bowl twice in 3 years. He's also selected Defensive Rookie of the Year. Ramczyk was the 32nd overall pick from Wisconsin the same year. Strangely, he's been snubbed for each Pro Bowl since, while earning recognition on the All-Pro list in both 2018 on the second list and 2019 on the first team. That's really weird that Ryan Ramczyk wasn't, but next year he definitely is going to be. And for a quick refreshing, neither Lattimore nor Ramczyk were picked within the first team selections. Their 5th-year option values will be determined by the average of the highest paid players at their position, specifically the 3rd to the 25th highest annual salaries. For now, that puts them in the ballpark of $11.6 million for Lattimore and $12.8, almost $13 million for Ryan Ramczyk. That puts a little monetary value on them. And just to remind everyone, the Saints picking up these 5th-year options does nothing to affect either player's 2020 salary cap hits. These were expected moves that should do a lot to keep the Saints competitive in the future. So that is a big deal right there, as both of those were picked up as well. Moving forward, of course, we learned about this and the information about Keith Kirkwood. Now I threw this one in because it was a move that I was hoping that Keith Kirkwood, coming out of all of the guys, this guy, Keith Kirkwood, to me had the most promise. Who that to you, T Dirty? Big ups to my dog, T Dirty, in the building. Who that to you? And Big Ben, who that to you, Big Ben? I see you, fam. Good to see you. Crass, thank you for your donation, family, as well. Getting back into the story, family. Revolt Control, who that to you, fam? Saints wide receiver signs with the Panthers. He follows Teddy Bridgewater over there, and it'll be interesting. Now, he has familiarity with Matt Rule over there, who was his coach at Temple. So it was that relationship he had with the coach who's now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, and Rule, at Temple. And then, of course, Teddy Bridgewater and him. So it's some familiarity, but they're getting a good young wide receiver in Keith Kirkwood. Wish we could have kept him, but he is out the door. I said the saddest to see him go, because out of all of the ones, undrafted guys, not named Deontay Harris, this guy, to me, was the guy that could have really helped the Saints if he had remained healthy. So let's keep it going. And, of course, the final pick we'll talk about, Saints did sign Jenkins after making offer to Von Bell. Von Bell could have been a Saint today, but Von Bell bet on himself, and the bell did not ring. The bell did not ring for Von Bell. Anyway, the Saints said, you don't want the deal? Okay, we're going to go along and bring Malcolm Jenkins back and correct the old wrong, and they bring Malcolm Jenkins back. So it wasn't like they snubbed Von Bell for Jenkins. It was the opposite. They offered Von the contract. Von turned it down. Bada bing, bada boom, as they say. He's still out there, and the Panthers are interested in getting him. Big ups to the family. Dada says, Big Q, I guess there's redoing Jack Rabbit contract. They got to be working on that one, because they've gotten to just about everybody's contract except for Jack Rabbit. So in the next 3 to 4 days, you should be hearing a rework deal on the Jack Rabbit, because a lot of the guys, if they were going to move on from Janoris Jenkins, a lot of the guys they could have moved on from are now off the books in terms of free agency. So where do you go? You see what I'm saying? So they kind of back themselves into a corner on needing to get a deal done with the Jackrabbit. So we'll see how that works out. But thank you, Dada, for your donation, family. Appreciate it. Crash says, not sure, but Sean Payton doesn't like Steve Steele's traded up to get Davenport and McCoy. A lot of people are predicting whether or not Sean Payton decides to move ahead or move back. And from a historical standpoint, he did move back in the draft. I mean, ahead in the draft to get players that he wants. But if you see all of the holes that the Saints have been filling in, number one, they filled in the left guard position. That was a question mark. Well, they got the best choice that they could possibly have, which was available. Joe Tunney was off the market, which probably would have been the choice that the Saints would have went with, but Andrus Peat was there. And Andrus Peat, in my opinion, would be a better pickup for a team looking to put a Super Bowl run together, but to bring your former Pro Bowl left guard back to the team who can play all the positions. His familiarity, he doesn't skip a beat, just plug him back where he belongs. So you solve the left guard position with Andrus Peat there, and plus a versatile position if Terron Armstead and Will get hurt. Not to put nothing on the man, just talking from a historical standpoint. And, of course, we address the special team issues with Justin Hardy. You got Michael Burton at the fullback position, so that gives you a fullback along with Ricky Ortiz. They might have an undrafted guy that comes in there and compete. So you fill the fullback slot. You fill the left guard slot. You fill the wide receiver spot outside of Mike Thomas, and just so happens that Emmanuel Sanders, despite his $16 million for 2 years, can play either outside or the slot, can catch, great route runner. And the only thing is the injuries. But at number 2, I don't expect all of that. He's not going to be the guy that you have to rely on in that capacity. This allows Sean Payton and Drew Brees to go back to that offense, which I spoke about, where it's basically the Oprah Winfrey offense, as I want to diagnose and call it. It's the Oprah Winfrey. Why? Because you get a football, and you get a football, and you get a football. You see what I'm saying? It's just what it is. Good Jill, who that to you? Good Jill, good to see you in the chat. Who that to you, fam? But that's what it is, man. That's what it is, family. That's pretty much what it is. It allows Drew to become what it was 4 or 5 years ago when he can go through his progressions and find the open man. You have another reliable receiver out there with Mike Thomas, is Emmanuel Sanders. You got Cook now, Elvin Kamara, if let's pretend like he doesn't hold out. And then, of course, you have guys in Josh Hill, and the Saints just have to keep going forward. Now, after addressing this, and there's still some movements to be made. There's still movements to be made. Was the big thing they told us about, was it Emmanuel Sanders? Was that the big move? Was that the big move? So the Saints addressed the defense by putting Malcolm Jenkins on the back end to shore it up from a experience standpoint, which he bringing all that experience and familiarity back to the city of New Orleans. And we love Malcolm Jenkins when he was here. He went up there to Philly with 2 big contracts and turned out and was the key members of that Philly defense that helped them to win. But we have the Oprah offense, as I would call it. The Saints Oprah offense. Well, you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown. So that's what it is, man. The bottom line is the Saints is going to make stuff happen. That's the bottom line, baby. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I said you had 4 or 5 key pieces. Now, in my opinion, the Saints, it free up some more money and go after a defensive player, Everson Griffin. I would really love to. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to give you 2 people that I think the Saints should go after. And number 1 is Everson Griffin. Why Everson Griffin? Because number 1, Sean Payton loves pilfering old Minnesota Vikings people. That's number 1. Anything to pull something away from Mike Zimmer. Number 2 is that Everson Griffin has 75 sacks in his career. Cam Jordan, who's our best tackle, had 87. So he's not that far away. So he's incredibly diverse. Now, last year he did go AWOL, and we know that. He kind of, lost it, but he came back. But he just needs a change of scenery. I think Everson Griffin just needs a change of scenery. Come to the black and gold, baby. Now the Saints, we looking at it, it's kind of that money's falling right now. And that's like Adam Schefter said last week. He said, if you hadn't got your money yet, the money's not going up, it's going down at this point. So that's what happened with Andrus Peat. That's what happened with Von Bell. Von Bell miscalculated. The Saints came with a really good offer. And ultimately, he said no. Now he's still waiting. Next week, he'll probably sign with another team, perhaps the Carolina Panthers. There was smoke around that. But that's for him. As far as the Saints are concerned, all I could tell you is that the Malcolm Jenkins move was an upgrade in terms of the experience that you need, because this is a Super Bowl of bust with the mentality in place to be a long term as well. So we're gonna try to win, and we have no choice but to defend what we are now. Despite whatever Carolina do or Tampa Bay do, I expect them to go at the moon and stars. It's gonna take everything short of them resurrecting Lazarus and him working miracles for them to actually resurrect their franchises to be valid again. The Saints have been dominating these teams. They had to do something desperate to wake up the fan base because the Saints was kicking ass so many years. You know, and that's what this is. So in essence, well, I still say the Saints, the familiarity in terms of the Saints having a shorter learning curve, and Tampa Bay and all these other teams got to learn to play together. The Saints, come on. You just put people in place because the system's already there. There's a slot there. You just had to put the man there to do it. Very productive guy in Emmanuel Sanders. I like the Emmanuel Sanders move. A lot of people say the money might be a little too high. Regardless or not, I still like the move because of the skill set he's bringing to the Saints offense. Reliable wide receiver with hands. The guy that runs really good routes. Nice compliment next to Mike Thomas. And very productive, not going to break up your team. The dude is a good player. And then the Saints could still just give them a little flexibility when the draft comes along, because the Saints are still not done addressing other needs as well. So I do like the move. Let's keep it going in the stream here, fam. That's some of the news items that we're going to cover. And I'm going to talk, and let me get to the phone lines. I'm going to open up some of the phone lines, family, so some of the family members can chime in and give their thought process on what they heard today. Now, you know, I got to the stories, I covered them, knocked them out one after the other, broke it down. There was a lot to talk about. Now it's time for me to open up the lines so the family members can chime in and get their speak on as well. So without further ado, we're going to open up the lines. Just give me a second, and I'll have the lines open for your pleasure. Remember, fam, they're going to have a lot of people calling, so kind of keep your comment, and not saying rush it, but be mindful they're going to be other people on the line that want to get in there too. So that's not kind of keep them out of the way as well. So just think about them as well. So thank you for that. Thank you, Crass, for your donation, family. Thank you for your donation. Big ups to my dog, Crass. Thank you, Dada. Thank you, all the beautiful Saints, black and gold, for chiming in and sending your donation. Thank you, family. Now, Gajil says, I love the Jenkins signing. He's better in coverage than Bell. Thank you, Gajil. Big ups to you as well. Adada says, Griffin, Cam, rushing from the DT position, Davenport on the edge. Nasty. I'm saying you're going to need, look, the Saints are taking no chances. They signed a veteran safety because they wasn't getting the same awareness from Von Bell back there. You need somebody that's going to teach them young guys something back there. Malcolm Jenkins has the record and the Super Bowl behind him to do it. He went to Philly, won the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. He knows what he's doing. Let me just put it to you like that. He's a little up there in age, but he still can have a positive effect on the back end of the defense, no doubt about it. The Andrus Peat was a familiarity move. He's multi-versatile, and he knows what he's doing. There's no learning curve there. He plugs back in at the left guard position. They get Emmanuel Sanders. The guy's terrific. He can come back in and make plays as well. Very terrific player as well. Love that. Route running, catching. The injury, am I concerned about the injuries? No, I'm not. I think he'll be fine as a number 2. Kevin, thank you. Kevin says, still pissed we didn't sign Robert Quinn. I know, bro. The 2 people I pointed out, thank you for your donation, by the way, Cam. Thank you, bro. The 2 things that I was talking, the 2 players that I made mention of that I wanted the Saints to get was Robert Quinn, and the other guy was Randall Cobb. Both of those guys went the same day. And I was like, Randall Cobb wasn't even the best wide receiver available. How the hell he went so fast? Somebody just yapped him off of there. I was expecting Sanders to go before he did, but see how it went? You know? And of course, Robert Quinn, man, he would have been special in the Saints uniform. But the Bears, I think the Bears got Quinn. They pilfered him. So that leaves two, and I forgot. Let me get back to that. Q say, hey, how about Jadeveon Clowney? Clowney's not going to get the $20 million that he's seeking. The market is not there for him, and the guy coming off of 3 sacks last year. But if you're a team that has a pass rusher and you want to have a complimentary pass rusher, because Jadeveon Clowney is not, if you don't have any pass rushers and you want to make Jadeveon Clowney your first pass rusher, you balking up the wrong tree, because that's just not what he's going to do. Jadeveon would do better as a second or even a situational pass rusher, because the guy has he has a propensity to get injured and miss games for you. So you would want to monitor that. Nobody's going to pay him that kind of money. He wants $20 million a year. He's not going to get that kind of money right now. It's proven. So he would have to take significantly less money, or if he was smart about it, he would go somewhere to maybe a team like the Saints or somebody that's right at the precipice of winning a Super Bowl, play a 1-year deal at like a $10 or $12 million contract or $13 million contract with most of it guaranteed, if not all of it guaranteed, with a nice little signing bonus, and play a 1-year prove-it deal, then go back to free agency the next year. He'd be smart if he was to do that. And I would take him if I was the Saints. And that could be a possibility, because he's not going to get 20, so his number's going to drop. So the Saints do fall in that window if they can when they rework the money. People saying, man, Q, you're telling you don't have the money. Bro, listen, did they have the money to sign Malcolm Jenkins? Did they have the money to sign Emmanuel Sanders, who signed for 2 years, $16 million, $8 million a year? Malcolm Jenkins is money. The big deal that WR Andrus Peat, made him one of the top 3 highest paid offensive guards in the league. Did they have the money to sign him? I keep telling y'all, man. I keep telling you the same thing. But Clowney isn't a true number 1 pass rusher. That's the game. He has to either be a number 2 or a situational guy. That's what I would do. And if I was the Saints, I would explore that if it was in those parameters of the money that I mentioned. Now, who's the second option, Q, in terms of the pass rusher? Because really, that's what I'm looking at right now. People saying, Q, what about the DBs? I'll address the DBs in a second. Let me get to the defensive line, and while I'm looking at the defensive line in terms of a pass rusher, the Saints brought in Onyemata, interior pass rusher, along with Sheldon Rankins, all those guys. They find in the middle. They have to get pressure on the quarterback from the edge, and they need a guy that you don't have to teach him nothing. He knows how to do it. Just put him out there and let him do it. Point at the quarterback and say, go get that SOB over there for me. Go get him. And guy go, and go get the quarterback, sacking him. So the second one on my list is Everson Griffin. Why? Because it's, like I said, Sean Payton loves pilfering Vikings players like he did the previous free agency period when he pulled guys from the Minnesota Vikings like Latavius Murray, like Nick Eason, like Zach Line, like Marcus Shrells. So he does a number in bringing those guys to the team. Now, Everson Griffin is a guy that tore the Saints up every time he played them. He was a problem, especially in the playoffs last year. And they were impressed upon what Emmanuel Sanders did against the 49ers game in the regular season. Well, Everson Griffin always lights up the board against the Saints. And he could be a weapon for the Saints against anybody else. So that's why I say that they need to look at Everson Griffin, because right now his market is even less in terms of his money, is less than what Jadeveon Clowney's calling for, which is why a lot of people's looking at him. The Dallas Cowboys are rumored to be a team, the Rams, and there's several other teams that's interested in his services. I would love to get Everson Griffin, and he's a reality. The Saints could get him. Now, what does that do to Davenport, Q, if you bring Everson Griffin? The Saints sign Everson Griffin to a 2 or 3 year deal. What does that do to Marcus Davenport? Only thing it does is it forces Davenport back to the position that he's been playing, which is a goddamn situational pass rusher. That's all he's been, is a situational pass rusher, despite the fact that he's played and started for the Saints in the last 2 seasons. His snaps amount to nothing but a situational pass rusher. He's missed half the season the year before, and in the past season he missed majority of the games this year. So he's basically a situational pass rusher right now. So in terms of that, that's how I would look at it. And remember, this is about the chip. This is about a Super Bowl. This ain't about no hurt feelings. And plus, the Saints NASCAR package will be on fire with Griffin, Jordan, Davenport. Picture that. Capitulate that for a second. And the money wouldn't be that funny as far as Everson Griffin. Now you say, okay, Q, what's a cheaper third option who's impactful as well? Marcus Golden. Marcus Golden, the former Giant, is still on the market. They got a couple of teams looking at him. He's a better choice than a lot of people that's out there. But Golden had 10 sacks last year. He can be a guy that can work off the end. I've seen him play in the linebacker position. I'm just telling you. Third option is Marcus Golden. Marcus Golden. If you're not familiar with him, look him up. Because this is the type of dude that the Saints will sneak under the radar and sign a guy like Marcus Golden and go for it. Now to address and give an even more caveat on the Andrus Peat signing. Remember when last broadcast, we covered it and I played Deuce McAllister. Remember that? And I said, hold on here. Something wrong with here. And you don't have no crystal ball, McAllister. So how you know this, that, and third? So I played the interview, him saying that don't be surprised if Andrus Peat don't come back. And I said, I played it for the family. I said, family, listen. I'm playing this for you because something don't seem right about this. And I just got a critical mind. And when certain things are said a certain way, I pick up on it. And I picked up on him saying that don't be surprised if Andrus signed 2 days before he signed. And I'm like, hold on here. I said, he knows something. See, somebody told you something. You knew he was going to sign. He was in the process of signing. You knew it and didn't say nothing to the contrary, which is fine. But for those who can, with the ear to ear, let them hear what's going on. Those guys will make a lot of money. Them information guys like Adam Schefter and all those type of Chris Martins, and them guys just get paid just for knowing information. They're just trafficking information. So if you're able to read between the tea leaves and see things, you're going to do well in this world. All right, family, that's what it is. Who that to JCL Systems? He's loved the E-Man and Jenkins move, but we still need to get rid of Marcus Williams. I agree, JCL. It says, with all the upgrades we making, the dude still might mess it up in the end. Shaking my head. Still don't trust that dude. I agree. I don't trust him. But maybe this will give you some amount of perhaps, what's the word I'm searching? Some of comfort. Who that to you, Eddie Evans? I see you, Eddie. Who that to you? This might provide some amount of comfort for your comfort for your JCL Systems. The fact that he be mentored by Malcolm Jenkins should provide you some level of comfort. You know what I'm saying? Because Jenkins has a lot more experience than what Von Bell had, and the rest of them on the secondary had that could teach him stuff from the safety position. So this could be something that could be impactful. So that does provide me some realm of comfort. Okay, let's go to the lines here. What up, fam? Thanks for calling the show. Who am I speaking with? What up, Drew Goddamn Breeze? How you doing, fam?
I was having a great day. Emmanuel Sanders was signed. We got a number one wide receiver who's going to be playing number 2. Then I heard Andrus Peat got signed. Then my day is kind of out of order. But I guess it's half and half now, so I don't know how to feel.
So you telling me Andrus messed up your day, bro?
Yeah. Why not?
What is it about Andrus, bro, that kind of make you not feel the right way?
Critical moments, man. Critical moments. Just like the NFC Championship game. I don't know if it was him who missed the block that made Drew Brees overthrow that ball that got an interception, or if it was the game where Drew Brees injured his thumb. And you can just see Andrus Peat's face. He has that dumb look when bad things happen.
He do. He really do.
He just has like I know a lot of people make that look sometimes. I make that look too. He had that stupid ass question mark look when Drew Brees gets sacked, man. And I'm just like, oh no. I'm like, we signed this guy again? Like, come on, man.
But let me ask you, the Saints obviously feel a certain comfort with Andrus Peat. The market wasn't there for him. If Joe Tunney or somebody like that was out there, the Saints would have definitely pursued that route. I just think in the end, when they're thinking about the keeping Drew comfortable and upright, I think that's that they were looking at.
I don't know how you can be that.
Well,
that's all that happened now.
But that's the thing. Now that the Saints paid him all of this money, Drew Goddamn Brees, let me ask you this question. Now that they gave him all of this money and made him one of the top paid offensive guards in the league, don't you think that we've yet to see the best part of Andrus Peat's game now that he would have to live up to that money? Don't you think that he will ratchet up his abilities now in the next 5 years of his career? What's your thought on that?
He would have to now because this deal brings him into the veteran status now.
There you go.
You know, he said he wants to be a Saint, and you know, I don't mind, you know, players wanting to be a Saint too, because you know this team gravitates the best players out in the NFL. Like Antonio Brown can't hear, even though he was a clown. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's right now because you know he's got his stuff together. But Emmanuel Sanders, he wanted to be a Saint. He could have signed with other teams. Like everybody knows this Saints team is a contender. Like whether it's the veteran leadership with the players on the field or it's the coaching staff. You know, this is a team that people see the puzzle and they see the pieces, and we are 5 steps closer. You know, we finally got our wide receiver. Back to Andrus Peat though. I'm just hoping that he can get his shit together. Like we're saying that this guy is pretty much the versatile pack for our offensive line because we can plug him in at any position. But is he going to get injured? Is he going to keep missing these key blocks? Because let me tell you something, Andrus Peat, he pays very well. Yes, he does. But when it comes when it's pressure, like the games last year, because we had a lot of critical games. The 49ers game or a playoff game. That's when you start to see him start to mess up and have that stupid look when things go bad. That stupid question mark look, man. But that's how I see it though, for real.
Well, I mean, my thing is, yeah, he had a lot of flubs as a player in his first 4 years as a Saint, but obviously more pluses than minuses in his young career. To be honest with you, I mean, he made the Pro Bowl twice. You know, out of those 4 seasons. So I know he makes a lot of mistakes, but Andrus Peat, as versatile as he is, has earned the respect of the coaching staff. He plays multiple positions. He provides flexibility. He's still a very young player. So at the end of the day, I think there's still more pluses than minuses when Andrus Peat. Plus, them giving him this contract. This is his first big veteran contract, and he will have to live up to that contract. And I just think when you have the great offensive line coaches that we have and the familiarity with the Saints system, I think Andrus would just continue to get better.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, I don't like to compare players on the same team, but you know, if he had, you know, Ryan Ramczyk, in my opinion, is probably the best offensive lineman that we got. You know, he's been shutting down the best of the defensive ends for the whole season. Mm-hmm. And he was a lower draft pick too, I think. And he's really young too, huh? I'm not really sure how old he is. But
Ramczyk?
I've just been watching him. You know, the best. Yeah, Ryan Ramczyk. You know, the best players on the offensive linemen are the quiet ones. Yeah. You know, because you don't really hear about them that much. They do their job. You know, they move in silence like John Wick. That's how I see it, really. Mm-hmm. Right. Just putting in work.
Yeah, I mean, but you're right.
You know, and there's going to be a lot of work to be put in too for this 17-game season, especially for this war zone for the NFC South. Because people are saying that these division games are going to be easy. Hell no, they're not, man. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm going to just say, Teddy Bridgewater and Carolina is going to be a problem. Joe Brady, who is the wide receiver coach for LSU, he made Joe Burrow look like a rookie offensive player of the year for the NFL. And you can imagine the talent that he's going to put with Teddy Bridgewater. You got Tom Brady. I know we like to call him a ghost of what he is, or he's washed up, but he is a field general just like Drew Brees. And he has wide receivers just like Drew Brees just got. And you can be damn sure that Tom Brady is going to have field management and control what's going on in the locker room too. And the Falcons, you can throw them in the trash can because nobody worry about them. But that's how I see it.
They got Ty Gurley.
Seriously. Boy, Tom, dude, Dude, Todd Gurley.
His name is his game.
That's why we disrespect running backs so much. That's why we don't pay running backs at all. That's why we use it. That's like how you use a person in real life, like a sociopath would use a person and throw them out. That's exactly how we treat running backs. Give them 3 years and throw them out the window. Because you give these running backs these mega deals, you start running them into the ground, and they start being more problematic because they can't do what they can. Mm-hmm. And he has like arthritis in his knee. I don't know if it's both knees, but I definitely know for sure it's one knee. And you know, Matt Ryan, he chokes in big games, so he's pretty much useless because that dude had a whole wide receiving core, man, and he couldn't do nothing with it. So I'm not worried about the Falcons at all, especially their running back situation. Just the Panthers and the Buccaneers, because we finally get to see Tom Brady versus Drew Brees, but we get to see them when they old men and not in their prime, which kind of sucks. Because these guys got to look at least 2 or 3 years left. And you got Teddy Bridgewater. I always knew Teddy Bridgewater had the potential, especially when he was playing against the Legion of Boom at his height. You know, when the Legion of Boom was at their prime, the Seattle Seahawks. If anybody in the chat doesn't know, but this is going to be fun. 17 games. What, a 1 week bye?
Yep. Let's get it.
Oh man,
let's get it.
Like, I normally don't like watching other NFL games besides the Saints and a couple of teams, but with all these free agent moves and all these games that have to be played, like, you can't take a week off. I don't think you can take a week off anymore, because like,
say, bro,
people keep saying 13-3, but like, you can't do 13-3 anymore. You got an extra game. It's either all in. It's all or nothing, man.
They have make some adjustments to accommodate that 17-game season. They're going to expand out the rosters and whatnot. So, I mean, that does help. Now, what it does do is it takes away one of the preseason games, which I'm definitely for. I'm all for cutting out preseason, period. I mean, the people say, Q, you want to get rid of preseason? Yeah, how they going to pick up the players? Same way college people do it. You mean to tell me you got to do that? If you're running all these camps and you have all these practices, you can find out and pick somebody else. That preseason nonsense, it's just crazy. It's just stupid. It don't mean, you know,
unnecessary injuries.
Right. Let's get rid of it. But cutting it down to 3 games to get to the regular season faster is cool with me. If you can't find the best talent and you need 4 games to find talent for your team, and you still falling through the flow, and you the Jacksonville Jaguars and all these, then they take a whole preseason to find out the best team, but then they still falling through the flow when the regular season comes. They ain't sniffing the playoffs. So I'm like, man, what is preseason? What good is preseason doing for their asses? You know, nah, man. It's just, you just gonna have to live on your scout report. You got to be a good coach and rely upon your eyes to know who can play football. Guess what? We do. We know who can play football. We watched enough of these guys in camp. We seen enough of them in in action to see what they look like, and we know who can play, who can't. We know, you know. So I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's just I'm for the 17. Eventually, they're gonna get to 18. You know, and it's just what it is. The owners, they lead. They're gonna eventually get what they want. But the bottom line is they're gonna have to represent and step it up. You making hundreds of millions of dollars, man.
For more football too.
Right. You making millions of dollars playing a children's game, and then you expecting me to have some level of, nah, it's a dangerous sport. That's the same thing Deontay Harris said every time he get into a boxing match. It's gonna be Deontay, guess what? Start learning how to duck. The sweet science teaches you supposed to throw punishment on their ass, not take it. Learn how to move your head. You know,
he put all his power into that right arm. Like, if you look at him, you can see that he ready to unload with that right arm. Like, it's like a laser.
It done made him lazy.
Just dodge, man.
It made him lazy. When you rely upon one thing like that, then the guy cheated into. I ain't gonna even get into it about the flopping glove and him punching from the least padded portion of his glove on tape and all that. And that guy's still sitting up there. That guy, we're gonna cover it on the Ring King boxing episode about cheating ass Tyson Fury. Puncher, it's just a shame, man. It's just a shame. That's why boxing is such a freaking joke. Boxing is such a joke because you got these pathetic boxing commissions that's doing this, like when he got his eye cut by that bum fighter he was fighting, and the ring doctor was supposed to stop the fight, but ESPN wouldn't have that because they wouldn't have their big payday. Now they had a guy, old farmer, that they asked to lie for them about them about him eating steroid laced beef, and then they so corrupt they ain't even pay the man. So the old man came out and said that they told me to do it. Had they had paid him, he would have went away. See how greedy these people are, and they deserve every bit of it. But that's a whole nother story. But the reality about the Saints moves is I love the fact that the Saints are going more reliable. They're doing it. Malcolm Jenkins means experience and reliability back there. Coming back here with a Super Bowl ring and 2 very experienced years, not 2 non-active seasons, but very active seasons in Philly.
Yeah.
Coming back home is an upgrade over Vine Bell insofar as of experience. He will help shape Marcus Williams and get Marcus Williams together. He will help in large part. What would Marcus Williams look at the end of the season with a full season, full camp, full preseason, full workout with Malcolm Jenkins as a mentor? He will look exceptionally better than what the hell he looks like now. Then the fact you say, well, anything left in the secondary? Well, Janoris Jenkins has to get reworked. Then you look, and when he get reworked, you got the 2 starters. The nickel guy is going to be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's perfect. Yeah. Then you got Pat Robinson, who took a cut and pay to be right where he's supposed to be and to be the 4th cornerback, and then you bring Justin Hardy. Now, you can add a rookie in there to compete and some other guys to compete for a spot, but pretty much what you're looking at is what they possibly can be going in terms of the secondary. Linebackers do need some help. Edge rusher, because you was a game changer there. The offensive line will get some depth, and another slot man or another player, young player next to Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas would be good too. And of course, a few quarterback of the future, because there are no quarterback. Well, there are quarterbacks out there. And Sean Payton is crazy. I mean, Mickey Loomis is crazy enough to try to go at Joe Flacco. Hope not. But the Saints really don't have too much to look for. I hope they just go into the draft and don't look at Jameis Winston. Don't look at Joe Flacco. Don't look at none of these clowns out here. Just look at getting Taysom Hill back. It doesn't look like much of a market of Taysom Hill. There's really not been too much on him, on his coat. Right. And that might have been purposefully. But at the end of the day, man, we'll just have to monitor and see. But it's been fun.
Yeah. But, yeah, let me say this. Okay, what was I saying? I don't know. But, look, Jameis Winston, I know we call him – I wanted to say Malcolm Jenkins. But Jameis Winston, he's throwing a whole bunch of interceptions. He does have 5,000 yards, though. And Jameis Winston, he is Brett Favre. I don't know if people want to admit that or not, but he is a gunslinger. In my opinion, I think he is.
He is a gunslinger. I'll give you that. He has a gunslinger mentality. And Brett Favre did throw a lot of interceptions, to be honest with you, in his career. I don't think he ever had a season where he threw, what over 20 interceptions, was it?
I don't know, but I do know, he has a whole bunch of interceptions. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, he does have some Brett Favre type qualities in terms of his gunslinger mentality. But, man, does Jameis Winston, boy, he done had chance after chance. I just don't see why we would even look in his direction. I just think it's time for us to find somebody to go to the draft and begin again like that. You have an opportunity now to do it. And I say 20 interceptions. Guy threw 30 interceptions last year. He threw 30 interceptions. 30 for 30. He threw five.
He did a nice interception.
5,000 yards, over 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. That's absolutely insane. Dude, how many
yards does he have in interceptions, though?
I don't know, bro, but it's ridiculous. 30 interceptions is ridiculous, man. That's absolutely awful. But like I said, if you can get that out of him, then you might have somebody. But I don't think that's the Saints' work. I mean, if he wasn't such a head case, he might be a pretty decent option for somebody to bring in. But I don't want Jameis Winston down here, man. I'm sorry, and I hope they're not looking at it. Hopefully the Saints just looking at the draft at this point.
Dude, and Malcolm Jenkins, I was clowning at him at first. I was like, why are we signing this old-ass man? Because, when I think of Malcolm Jenkins, I think of that Saints game where we played against Carson Wentz when we was calling him wheelchair. And Malcolm Jenkins, he had flipped off Sean Payton because we was running the score up. We was running the score up on him. But then I keep remembering Malcolm Jenkins in 2017 was playing with the number 1 defense at the time. And plus, they had ran the table the 18th season when Nick Foles had to be called in. So I'm really glad for that. We can finally get some veteran leadership in the secondary. And we just need, one corner? We're one defensive player away from having a top 5 defense for the season. Because I know we can do it. Because we got Jack Rabbit. He's locking things down. Marshawn Lattimore, he's locking things down too. And we finally got a wide receiver that we've been missing for 3 years.
Wow.
We finally did it.
How about that?
Finally.
How about that, man? We finally got somebody to compliment the man. Finally got a wide receiver.
Right, and he's a number 1 too. But he's a number 2 receiver.
He's saying to himself,
this ain't no Traquan.
No, he's saying to himself, man, I'm about to get this easy money over here. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying to himself. This is gonna be some easy money.
Ring. That's what he's saying.
But
Dude was getting butt naked in the secondary, if you don't remember. Like when we was playing against the 49ers, dude was splitting us wide open. That game, you remember the game where we were all calling saying that we should have ran the ball? Like, this is crazy, man. Plus in the Super Bowl, he was getting wide open too. We have a wide receiver who's fast. He can run the deep ball and he can run routes too. He can run the route and the deep ball. Something that Ted King couldn't do because I don't know what the hell is wrong with Ted. Again, this dude either getting injured or he just running the go route. That's it.
I think he was
get this motherfucker out of here.
It came to a point last year where he just became disinterested in offense, and he's really the deep man. And it's not really too many uses you can have for Ted. Again, you can't run him in a slot like that. That's not his game. But Sanders is a guy that you can use in either way. He runs great routes. He's reliable. His hand, when he's healthy, he's a very serious threat. So adding him in the Saints offense gives it a commodity that we didn't have last year. And then you still have Cook, you still have Mike, you still have Kamara, you still have Drew back there, and you bring back his offensive line where he had a large result. You return his same line that he's had for the last several seasons. You're bringing them back together. So there's a reliability on the offensive line where the Saints continue to be a threat offensively speaking. And my opinion is this: if the Saints can some kind of way find a pass rusher in free agency by either signing either a guy like Marcus Golden, or my favorite pick will be Everson Griffin. If they can add Griffin to the mix, my goodness, the Saints, you're not going to be able to do nothing with them. And they stay healthy and move forward, man, the Saints pass rush, that's the thing that they need to focus on at this point. Because you fixed offensive, you've got the left guard position, you've got the wide receiver. Of course, you can choose to go at somebody in the draft and use the guy either outside or slot, however you want. You have a little wiggle room there, a little flexibility there. Quarterback is obvious option, but the pass rushing situation, you get a pass rusher, a guy that knows what he's doing to assist Davenport and Cam Jordan. Man, the Saints, you done did everything you need to do from that standpoint to take it to the next notch, and everything else will be you filling in a roster with depth.
Yeah, just war ready after that point.
It's all good.
For real, before, you see how serious it is. You see how serious it was for us to get the wide receiver position. Because you could just hear Saints fans saying, that's it, our Super Bowl window over with. But we finally got the piece that we've been craving that we needed. We finally got it. We are contenders now. We can jump right back into the fire at this point.
We never left.
That's how serious it was.
With Drew goddamn Brees, we never left the fire, baby. We still a champs. We still the kings of the hill. These teams making desperate moves. Carolina making some desperate moves. So is Tampa Bay. Atlanta, getting rid of Devontae Freeman to sign a less effective back and Ty Gurley name is his game. But the reality is that the Saints have gotten better offensively, personnel-wise than what they were last year. Emmanuel Sanders is a severe upgrade over a guy like Teddy Ginn Jr. So, and then Emmanuel Sanders is a veteran, productive wide receiver, 33 years of age, that can still teach a guy like Mike Thomas something, who can still teach a guy like Traquan Smith something, who can still teach several wide receiver people, the Saints have nothing but a bunch of young wide receivers. And you got a guy as productive as Emmanuel Sanders. He'll do the same thing he did when he went to San Francisco and was schooling guys like Bourne and Debo Samuels and men like and young players like that. He was pivotal to that young wide receiver room, and he'll do the same thing for the Saints, the same thing Malcolm Jenkins would do to the young defensive backs on the opposite side of the field. So at the end of the day, this is a very, very meticulous draft. And the Saints have gotten back. They've answered a lot of the pieces, the left guard position, the fullback position. They've answered the wide receiver position. They can still draft they need. The QB position, they need to get a young guy back there. Taysom Hill will definitely probably sign back with the Saints. They'll, I don't think nobody gonna pick up him the way that it's going. Perhaps maybe next year, next week, something to change a bit. But we still, my thing is, if we can get that pass rusher, we can fill the rest of these positions through the draft and the undrafted free agents as well. And then, of course, some of the minimum veterans. Right before camp starts, you bring some of those guys in to compete on your team to provide some competition. To deal with that, because every season we get those injuries and we just have to monitor. But man, at the end of the day, we are on pace here. This is a good free agency.
For real, it's like this season we're playing 17 games, right? So are we getting an extra home game or is it an extra away game?
I don't know how they put that in to our schedule. I'm not certain on that. I know we have a list of teams that we're supposed to play. And remember the schedule was, I think the schedule people announced the teams that we playing and they might have to adjust that scheduling a bit to accommodate the new CBA. So remember, one happened after the other one, so some adjustment has to be made to accommodate it. So we'll know that more as the season moves forward.
Oh man, dude, I'm excited, man. I am excited. I know you. What position do you think we need for the draft? I honestly think we just need a wide receiver. I know a quarterback would be great, but I think another wide receiver would be another icing on the cake. I don't know how Mickey Lewis doing these contracts. I have no idea how he's moving his money, man. It's got to be illegal. Seriously.
Well, I mean, that's the funny part about it is Mickey Loomis he's a master at it, man. He knows how to do it. He knows how to put it together. And backloading, like if you take some of the contracts, like with Drew Brees' current contract, where they paying him $50 million, only $2 million of it for the season. Drew's only making $2 million on the cap for this year. The rest of it's been pushed back in various forms. So I mean, he does a really very unique way of moving money around. And when you have the ability to kind of restructure deals and turn them into signing bonuses, you can keep this type of solution, just keep this type of formula going in perpetuity. So I'm looking at it like the Saints keep on the draft. And then what helps Mickey Loomis out too with this is the fact that they're drafting so well and they're getting so much production out of these drafted players. Like Ryan Ramczyk and Lattimore making $2 or $3 million a season, even though they're turning out Pro Bowl years, which their money would put them anywhere between $14 to $11 million. So, I mean, they're getting the bang for the buck in terms of the draft picks goals, and they'll keep that formula going. They're not going to pay everybody, just the guys they know they need to pay. And then most of the veterans they're signing, these are just 2-year contracts, which means in 2 years, they'll void them out, and some of it will fall on the dead cap book, but they're basically just staying competitive for the next 2 years to allow them window where they transform or transition from Drew to another quarterback. And hopefully they can do it right this time around by selecting a quarterback that can learn behind them. Now, I'm going to be the first one to say it, but I looked at Drew Brees' contract, and I'm thinking Drew Brees, they saying this is his final year, and they're going to roll with it, but I'm saying it is an option year. That year don't look like a voidable year. That look like a playable year, that second year on this contract. Now, the third and fourth year, those are voidable years, but the second year looked like he could opt to play that year. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised if Drew said I'm coming back for another season. I'm just going to keep it real with you. Just remember where you heard it from here first.
I heard it for real.
But so keeping it going, though, I'm saying that the Saints have to address the QB position in some form or fashion. They have to, Because you got to look at the future of the team, and what better way to do it than to draft a guy and have him sit behind Drew for a year or two, and then learn the Saints system, and then the Saints just slide him in there, give him the running game, and then of course you need a tight end. I still would draft a tight end this year, or find a young tight end this year to replace Jared Cook, because Jared Cook missed a lot of games last year. He's getting older, and then the fact that he won't be here after this year, he falls off the books, and then you have Josh Hill, and then you don't have anything behind him. So the Saints need to look at the tight end position as well. Really look at him, not just some old guy that you like. I mean, seriously, somebody you can look at and say, this guy he's gonna compete for the starting job at the tight end in a year from now. That's what they need to be looking at doing as well, because the tight end is very important to the Saints offense. Quarterback, they need to find a quarterback. And that's it. In the free agency period, find you a pass rusher in free agency, and then everything's open when the draft comes.
Right, because the quarterback position is very weird. Like who the hell wants to put J.T. Barrett as a second string quarterback? Because I know that Sean Payton is not going to want. He's definitely going to want to be the X factor.
No,
the guy who's doing all the skill positions, really.
No,
that's what I think.
Right, I agree with you. I think order for Sean Payton to run the Taysom Hill packages, which that's another caveat too. When you throw Emmanuel Sanders in there, then you have still Taysom Hill running around in there doing what he does. So that does provide an extra level of excitement as well when he comes in there and does his little packages or whatnot. Hopefully there's more balance in his packages than what there were the last 2 years, and which Sean Payton allows him to throw just as much as he runs, maybe a 50-50 mix, perhaps even close to he can get it, where he can kind of at least trick the defenses of the teams that he's playing against, and not the fact that if he lines up, they just run up to the line and prepare for a running play. He got to understand, give him the ability to opt out of it when he see the line, the safeties dropping into the box, and then opt to a passing play so he can throw the ball. Hopefully that's a caveat that's mixed into the Taysom Hill packages if you're going to utilize them that way. But the Saints still need to address it by finding a competent young rookie quarterback that could compete with Taysom in next year and the year after, because I think Drew will be back after this season, especially when the Saints win a Super Bowl and they take on the Buccaneers, and that's must-see big team, TV. I still say at the end of the day, he has an option. That second year looks playable. But the reality is that the Saints are on the correct course of action. You can't be mad at what the Saints doing. You might be a little upset about the kind of money they spending, but this is what the cap is this year. This is what free agency is this year, and they're getting the correct players. So I give a big thumbs up to Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis for what they're doing, because this team is better than what they were last year in terms of wide receiver. And Emmanuel Sanders, he's better than Ted Ginn Jr. Malcolm Jenkins is better than Von Bell because he sees a lot more than Von Bell does, and he can teach. I'm saying Von Bell's not a bad teacher, but Malcolm Jenkins has a lot more to teach than Von Bell does, and that's just what it is. But Drew goddamn Brees, appreciate you, cuz, for calling, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate your comment, fam. And keep your head up on Andrus, bro. He gonna shock the world, bro.
All right, buddy.
All right, bro.
All right, buddy.
Who that? Peace out.
All right.
All right, bro. That's big ups to Drew goddamn Brees, man. That man just don't like Andrus Peat. But guess what? Andrus is laughing today because he a Saint, and you're going to have to deal with him for the next 5 years, my boy. So big ups to Drew goddamn Brees for chiming in the show. Big ups to him. Who that to you, Bentley Morrison? Good to see you in the live stream, fam. He says, I don't know if we could pass up Jay Hurts if he's still sitting there at 24, but the linebacker from OU would be someone to take. I do like Murray. Ken Murray is who you talking about there, Bentley. And I actually like that guy. I don't know if he'll be there when the Saints pick at 24. But usually when you position that late in the draft from 24 on back, you take the best player on your board that falls to you after everybody else is done making their picks. And truth be told, you'll have somebody special that's going to fall to you, whether it's a quarterback, perhaps it'll be a wide receiver, maybe it's a cornerback or a safety like a Del Pitt or Xavier. Maybe somebody special like that falls to you because they're anticipating at least 4 or 5 quarterbacks to be taken before the Saints pick. So if that's indeed the case, then you're going to get some value that's going to fall to you at that position. You might get a good offensive lineman. You might get one of the top 3 pass rushers. You never know. It's yet to be determined. It's as unpredictable as free agency has been. Really as unpredictable as this current mode of free agency. Really unpredictable. Who that to you, Demi? I see you, Demi. Good to see Demi in the chat as well. Big ups to Sports Talk 365 is in the building. Big ups to the family over there doing it big. Big Sam. Who up, Big Sam? Good to see you, fam. Who that to you as well. And all the beautiful 985J in the building. Derek Allison. What up, Derek? Good to see my dog, Derek Allison, in the stream as well. Big ups to the family members chiming in while I was running my mouth. Big ups to all the Back and Gold family members in the building. Now, family, you know, a quick synopsis so far of what we covered in the show. A series of different conversations that we've news that we've covered. Of course, we talked about the Emmanuel Sanders move. The Saints picking him up 2 years, $16 million, up to $19 million of it. Incentives he could get. This is a very good move by the Saints for him. And I think Sanders will represent a very good weapon in the slot or outside, wherever you need him. You still can get that young wide receiver. And he mentors. He's going to be a mentor. He'll be 33 years old. He's the oldest wide receiver you have. He's productive. The guy is terrific. They're going to love him. And of course, the Saints read up with Andrus Peat on a 5-year contract. He is now with the Black and Gold members for 5 years. And the thing is, a lot of people have great points. Drew goddamn Brees called a moment ago, and he was talking about Andrus Peat and his flubbery. But at the end of the day, I think it's more pluses than minuses. And now that Andrus has that first big veteran contract, he will have to live up to it. And I think in this environment, this atmosphere, he will. And of course, let's go to the next one. Of course, we said prayers and shout out to our coach Sean Payton, who testified for the virus early, who revealed that early in the week. Our prayers go out to Coach Sean Payton and for a speedy recovery. Moving on, of course, we covered the fact that the Saints agreed to terms for special team ace Justin Hardy and fullback Michael Burton, who was competing with Zach Line the past season for the fullback job. And he's signed to Burton could possibly be the starting fullback. He'll compete with Ricky Ortiz. And of course, the Saints are bringing an undrafted guy as well. So that's it. Of course, and then the Saints did make moves. They pick up the 5th-year options on both very productive players, Ryan Ramczyk and Marshawn Lattimore. They pick up the 5th-year option on those guys as they hopefully work out a very good deal to keep those guys in-house for a very long time. Of course, another move, the Saints didn't tender Keith Kirkwood, and then he was then signed by the Carolina Panthers. He joins Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina. And this is one of my favorite undrafted guys that we had. He is now a Carolina Panther. And of course, finally, the other last draft moves, of course, the Saints signed Malcolm Jenkins, but that wasn't the news. The moves that they made offer to Von Bell. They made offer to Von Bell, who turned it down before the Saints ultimately said, okay, you thinking that you're betting on yourself? I respect that. We're going to go with Malcolm Jenkins. So that's the upgrade. So that lets you know right off the top that the Saints mean business. Now, if Von Bell would have took the deal, he would have came back. But to be truthfully, this was a better move for Von Bell to leave and Malcolm Jenkins to come, because we won't, you've seen so much of Jenkins. He played with Marcus Williams, and then Williams has 1 year left. Would Williams look with Jenkins, a 1-year training situation with Jenkins? Because the biggest person that'll benefit from that insofar as his tutelage would be Marcus Williams, the guy that'll be starting next to him. So I don't foresee a guy as a good player, an excellent person like a guy like Malcolm Jenkins, basically not letting Marcus Williams do all that foolishness that he's been doing, in terms of not schooling him correctly and teaching him about proper angles and how to hit. We should see something right here. And if stuff don't look right, then he gonna be going anyway. So it's interesting to say the least, but I love to see Malcolm Jenkins and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I know Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to learn a lot. Him and Saquon Hampton. And this is going to be big. So I like that, to be honest with you. But anyway, live line is open, 504-475-4482. 504-475-4482. The live line is open. Who that to you, JT? I see you, fam. In the building, Crash says, Pat Swilling mentioned Butler a lot. Dude has ability. That's right. He really is. He's excellent. The man see the flow. Like he really does see the field very well, and you cannot underestimate that, man. Jenkins is pretty damn good at that. Sports Talk says, do you think Von Bell priced himself out? I think the Saints that was a fair offer, 365. Sport Talk, if you go on there and look at the money that they offered him, that was a fair deal. Vine wanted more, and he thought that he could make more money on the market. And that's ultimately what happened. The Saints didn't say, no, we were going to leverage Malcolm Jenkins against Von Bell. That's not what happened. They approached Von Bell and offered him a pretty good contract. Vine said no, he wanted a bigger contract, and I guess you wanted to be here. You told us that you wanted to stay in New Orleans. The contract that he offered them wasn't bad. It's just that free agency. Right now, he hit a point where we knew the last several years that the free agent market was just almost getting suppressed, not as bad as the running back position. But the safeties position, if you think about positions in the NFL, that a lot of people are really not paying big money like they used to. Now, you see a few spot deals here and there, like what happened with Jackson up there with the Chicago Bears when he got his $58 million or whatever. But remember, the safety position is almost as suppressed as the running back position. Not as bad, because you don't have to pay all these running backs big money. You can draft them out of the draft. They're a dime a dozen. That's how they see them. But the safety market didn't look as bad as the running back market, but the safeties are not getting paid like that. Von Bell he was issued a good deal. He turned it down. Saints signed Jenkins. Now we'll see what the Carolina deal was, because that was supposed to be the team that wanted him. But I thought you wanted to be here. All right, fam. Thank you for joining the show. Who's speaking?
DLP 2600.
What up, fam? How you doing, bro?
What's up, brother? What's going on?
Man, I'm doing good, fam. Doing good. I'm looking at all these moves, bro. Got your head spinning a bit. What you think about it, bro?
I love it. I love it, man. I love it.
Tell me about it, bro. Which one of the moves you like? I know you're a pretty insightful guy, bro. Which one of the moves that you like and one of the moves that you don't like?
Okay, well, I like the David. Obviously, the Emmanuel Sanders, that's kind of a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. Emmanuel Sanders deal to me was an exceptional from the standpoint that we haven't had anybody on the other side of Michael Thomas since Snead left, basically, in 2017. So we've been really trying to shore up that role, even though I know a lot of people down on Traquan Smith. I like Traquan, but he's just in and out of the lineup. He's inconsistent. He's still young. I think he's got room for growth. So I don't think we should just throw him away. Mm-hmm. He just needs to stay healthy, and we just need to keep working with him and develop him. I think one of the things, and you'll probably agree with me on this, is we have a tendency, the Saints organization, is they get a guy in there, and they don't see the results right away, and they just throw him away. Or they push him to the side and just kind of forget about him. And we've had a history of just, Mark Ingram, when he first came in, you remember he was fumbling the ball. He was always hurt.
Oh yeah, he's terrible.
That and other.
Right.
Took him a couple years. Mm-hmm. Then he started to get more opportunities. He came in and showed he was healthy. Blah blah blah. And it's just been like that with a lot of players. And sometimes you think they're going to do something when they first get into the room, and they just don't develop as fast.
Right.
I mean, Armstead, his first year, he didn't play until the last 3 games of the year, his rookie year. So this does happen. Some players it depends on the role, depends on the position, depends on, what's asked of them. A lot of things, injuries, all these things come into play. Andrus Peat's another example. When we drafted Andrus Peat, a lot of people may not know this, he was 20 years old. He's a kid.
Yeah.
20-year-old kid. And he got thrown right in there.
Right.
And he's been developing every year. Obviously, he's had his ups and downs. I think 2018 was his 2 best years. But like I said, he's had injuries, and he's had a variety of other issues. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. I think he's what, 26? He's still got a lot of time. He's still young. What's that?
I say he still have a lot of time.
He's still got a lot of time. He's a big guy. He needs to come in shape. He's had he's a big dude. That's a big man.
Yeah.
6'7" and 320 pounds. He's a big dude.
Yep.
So he needs to come in shape. His body, is still believe it or not, is still filling out. I mean, he's still maturing, and I think at this point, we just need to, he needs to get better. Obviously, all the young guys need to continue to develop. But I did like the Emmanuel Sanders, David Onyemata. I did like that move. I didn't think we were going to re-sign him, man.
Right.
I really didn't. I didn't see it, even though I did like him. My concern is because that a lot of teams out there on the open market were probably going to want to pay him, and he did get other offers. Credit to him, he decided to come back to the Saints. He wanted to be here. Andrus Peat wanted to be here. See, those are the kind of guys we want them here. We want to keep those core players because if it's if the money, there's not a big difference in money, and they're comfortable here, they're going to probably end up staying with us.
Right.
Right. A lot of times it works out, in my opinion, and a lot of times you see that happening. What happens is you get these players and their agents, and sometimes the agent gets in their ear. Next thing you know, that's what happened with Mark Ingram. I mean, look what happened with the Mark Ingram situation. He ended up walking because over $500,000 or whatever it was, $1 million, whatever. It was like something stupid. It's very little bit of money.
Right.
And I just think that and if his agent didn't want him talking to Payton and all this crap, and it's stuff like that happens, unfortunately. But we've had a really good reputation of keeping our guys. And some of the guys that walk usually just, I'll give Saints credit for this. They have a number in mind. They have an idea. Because I think they learned from the past mistakes they've made. They know what they want to pay, or they kind of have a general feel what the market is, and they know what they're going to pay. Mm-hmm. And then they set that line down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then that's it. And they won't go over that. And I think that's it's good, because what happens a lot of times, you see these teams look at some of these contracts. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting paid crazy money.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous amounts of money. And these contracts, and some of these contracts don't come back to bite some of these teams. I mean, look what happened look at Todd Gurley as an example.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, man. Well,
the Rams are kicking themselves because look at how much money they gave that man. Now he's got a bum knee. He signed with the Falcons. The Falcons fan jumping up and down. Dude, you sign a guy with a bum knee, and you think he's the same guy? He's not the same player. I mean, the Rams are unloading all these contracts because they knew some of them they overpaid for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Paid too much money. And don't be surprised if Brandon Cooks is on his way out. Brandon Cooks just got paid 2 years ago, and he's on his way out.
Yeah, the Rams' philosophy was Super Bowl or bust, and they bust. So they got to reset, bottom line. That's what this is.
Yeah. So I like the Emmanuel Sanders Davey Onyemata contract. I like the Andrus Peat deal because we got him at $11.5 million per year. You can't get a starting offensive line at his caliber, youth on his side, size, and experience. Now that he's got 6 years in our system, 5-6 years in the system, you can't just go find somebody and throw him in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they got him at 11.5. These guys are making $14, $15, $16 million per year at his role, at his position.
Right.
So how can you say he had a lot of factors, and he wanted to be here. Yeah,
that's true. He was. I mean, he chose to come here over them two right there. So that shows what he think the team is made of. Right.
Because a lot of times, these young players, the Chiefs were interested in him. They had several other teams that were interested in him. We'll probably find out later down the road. And at the end of the day, he wanted to be with us. We gave him a fair deal. He took it. He took it, and it's a win-win for everybody. He's got room for improvement. He's still got that youth on his side. He hasn't hit his prime. It was a no-brainer. See, that's another thing. We shored up several roles, several positions that we got by signing these guys. Now when we go into the draft, we're not reaching for guys. We're not going out and making a bunch of hasty decisions. We're not scrambling to figure out, what we're going to do here, what we're going to do there. We can go into the draft in a much better position and be wise. Just pluck the, like receiver. I still think we're going to get a receiver in the draft. The draft's too deep. You can't, and it's going to help us. Emmanuel Sanders, at the end of the day, he's 30, 33, 34 years old. He can still play, no doubt about it. The guy's got some wheels, he's got good hands. He can still play. He's the type of player that could probably play another 2 or 3 more years, and he would be good because he stays healthy, he's in shape. You can tell he's an enthusiastic guy. So I don't anticipate his play to be dropping off because the way he played last year, this guy looks like he's a 25-year-old player.
Yeah, man, he looked young and energetic coming off that injury. He still had a lot to prove. A lot of people was counting him out.
Right, but he's been productive at every place he's been. Pittsburgh, Denver. Go look at his numbers.
Right.
He's been still producing. You didn't see him slacking off when he got his contract.
Right.
He was out there making it happen. Even on those Denver teams, when they were losing, he was out there balling out.
Right. Yep.
So you like you want a player, and he brings leadership. He gets Antonio Brown. He was his old teammate. Antonio Brown gets on him because he goes on. He's not afraid to speak either, but he does it. He's a good guy. You can tell. He calls Antonio Brown out for all the shenanigans he does, and Antonio Brown goes at him. So he's a leader, man. He's gonna come. It's a good locker room guy. He's gonna help the young guys develop, like a Traquan Smith, Emmanuel Butler, which I think people would better not forget about him. This guy's a workout warrior. He's all over social media working out. He's a big kid. He has a lot of potential. The coaching staff like him. I think he has an outside chance of making this roster, a really good chance of making this roster. People kind of forgot about him because he's on the practice squad. But don't sleep on Emmanuel Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sleep on him.
Yep.
But I would say those are the picks. Those are the players I like the most. The fullback, I don't know too much about him, but we needed a fullback. He's got some experience. We got him on the cheap. So I can't really speak too much on that. I would say the Malcolm Jenkins is the only one that I'm not hating it, but I'm not liking it. As I told you the other day, kind of lukewarm on the thing. Mm-hmm. My only issue with him is because of his age. I like the leadership. I like the player. I think the leadership's going to help the young guys, because we haven't had a veteran back there. That was the one thing that I wish we had. And a couple of the guys we've had in the past just didn't work out.
Kurt Coleman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we paid him too much money. That's really what it comes down. We paid him too much money. We made the swift move, got him. It just didn't work out. And at the end of the day, this was a good solid move in the sense that you want to bring leadership. He still can play. Not doubting he can't play. Just when you get 30, he's in a role where he's a DB, and at that age. And I don't think he's ever been known for his speed, but you're just concerned about that. But again, he knows how to play angles. He's a good player. He'll help the team. And we still got Saquon Hampton. I keep forgetting about him. He's a developing young guy. That's a guy that needs to be developed. Marcus Williams, obviously, we have our issues with him. He's a good player. He's got the athletic ability. We think he's a talent. He just needs his head is not on sometimes. And I think Jenkins will help him.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys will help him. Jackrabbit, he's been around the block. Those kind of guys, we need that presence in there. So I do like it from that aspect. And hell, he made me. I'll be the first one to come on your show. He may go out there and ball out. If he doesn't come on your show and tell you I was wrong. I'm not saying it's a complete. Hey, I'm not saying it's a complete bust. I just, like I said, I'm kind of lukewarm on the idea, and that's all I'm saying. But hey, he could easily go out there and ball out, and I hope he does because it'd be better for the team. As far as the draft goes, bro, I would say the team's going into this draft in a much better situation. I think is that if Murray, for linebacker from Oklahoma, slides, because I predict some of these really good players that were originally top 10 guys or top 15 guys, some of these players are going to slide because after the combine and all these other things that's been going on, some of these players are going to start sliding. Not that they're not good, it's just the way it falls. With the quarterbacks and this guy's, people get all hot on one guy, so now he jumps up in the top 10. So it pushes other guys down. And with free agency. So I think some of these players are going to fall. And if we were Atlanta happen to get Murray, I think most of the fans would be jumping up and down and be very happy because this guy's is a top 15 talent. Murray's a very, very good player. And we could use an athletic young linebacker that can do it all. If we end up getting a guy like that, that would be amazing. I just don't know if he'll fall that far back, but there's a possibility. There's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Maybe Patrick Queen could. There's other guys. If we want to go linebacker, I still believe we need to shore up the offensive line. We still need to get another tackle to play behind Armstead and to help out if Ramczyk goes down, because we have to develop some guys, because eventually Armstead's getting up in age, getting his contract coming up. I don't think he's that old, but his contract is going to be coming up in the next year or two, and you want to have a piece behind him, and you need to swing tackle in case he goes down. So I think us would be wise to go after a tackle, whoever the best tackle would be available, a linebacker, and then if there's a defensive player, like a defensive end or a corner, I can see us going in that direction. But at the end of the day, they're going to pick the best player that's going to be available to them. And I don't think they need to do anything drastic unless there's an outside chance. And you know how Payton and Mickey Mouse Loomis is. They'll go out there and take a risk and say, you know what, we like this quarterback. They won't show their hand now. They may see a quarterback or may already know they like there's one quarterback out there, and they may start making some moves and to trade up. Or whoever it is. It could be somebody else, maybe not a quarterback. Could be a defensive end. Who knows? And do something like that.
Right.
So don't be surprised. We're going to get another receiver. I just don't think that they have to necessarily get somebody at 24 because it's so deep. They can actually wait till the third round. I think we'll end up getting a second round pick somehow. They'll probably make a move, get that second round pick, and we'll fill several good. We'll fill a lot of roles in the draft, and I hope this. I'm pretty confident. I'm not going to say I hope. I'm pretty damn confident. We'll make sure we do a really good job of getting players that are going to come in and contribute and then develop.
That sound like the move right there, DLP. I mean, no doubt about it. The Saints have done a pretty good job, admirable job in free agency. They've plugged a lot of their holes, and they basically set up an interesting draft where they could just fill out the rest of the pieces. Maybe one more free agent signings on the horizon for the Saints in terms of an impact play on the defensive side, perhaps. And then after that, and then the draft set up the way it is, and then we'll look at the compensatory pick formula or whatnot. But at the end of the day, the Saints have done they've already improved the team with what they have, and I expect them to continue this. But this is a very good signing period for the Saints. Kudos to them.
Yeah, I think as a whole, absolutely. As a whole, if you look at everything they've done, it has to be some of the best moves that any team's made as a whole out of all the things they've done. So I'm really happy that in the direction overall what they did. And a couple of weeks ago, I hate to tell you, I was skeptical on some of the positions and how they were going to fill them, because some of these players, when they become free agents, they usually just take more money or go somewhere else. and it didn't happen. Like if some of the players like David Amyamata, Pete, I thought those guys would be long gone. I thought that those guys are going to command more money in Atlanta. They got fair deals. They like the team. They land up coming back. As far as Von Bell, I would have loved us to keep Von. Only problem is he priced himself out. And you can't get mad at the Saints for trying. They did their best. They're only going to pay him. Look, he was trying to get close to $60 million. I said that a couple of weeks ago because that's what was out there. He's trying to get that same contract or more than what the safety Eddie Jackson got from the Bears.
No, there's no way. No way he's going to get that kind of money. I mean, because they're going to suppress his value. And I keep saying he doesn't have the statistic that gets you the money. And that's the interceptions. He had one interception his entire duration being a Saint. And he's played the majority of the games, more than the majority. So at the end of the day, I'm saying you're not going to get – if you look at what Jackson got in Chicago, I mean, look at all the interception he got and then all of the ones he returned for picks. I mean, he at one time, one of the years, a couple of years back, that he led. I think he led the league with interceptions almost 1 year, but he had more return. He had like 4 or 5 returns and he was making a highlight film. Von Bell had 1 pick. If you don't, and I keep saying this, the statistics that get you paid on the defense is sacks and interceptions. Tackles, they don't pay you for tackles. Blake Martinez was dominate the league the last couple of years, leading the league in tackles or whatnot out of Green Bay. The Packers let him walk, and he got a 10-year, a $30 million deal for 3 years with the Giants. But that's still a very cheap deal for a guy that was that productive. So, like I said, the stats that mean something on the defensive side of the ball are sacks and interceptions, and Von Bell had neither. So that's why he did. He should have took the Saints' money, even took a short-term deal and come back to free agency. Because this virus free agency this year has tampered down a lot of movements by some of these free agents. Under a normal situation, it might have been different. But now it's just he should have. And that's the advice I have for guys like Von Bell or Jadeveon Clowney. Sign a 1-year deal, come back to free agency next year with a contender. Sign a 1-year deal with a contender, come back to revisit free agency next year, hopefully under more normal circumstances. But Von Bell was not going to get that kind of money. He should have took the deal. And it's his folly because now Jenkins is here for the next several years anyway.
Right. Now, the one thing you can make an argument for on Bell, and I do kind of agree with it, was that he is trending up because I've seen him get better every year that he's been in the Saints. When he got the opportunity, he kept getting better. I think he's got a good head on his shoulder. I think he's a good leader, but he's still a young guy. And like you said, if he took a shorter term deal, he can go back out in the market.
Right.
And you go back out in the market and you're improving every year, you're getting better.
Right.
And people are taking notice. So you're gonna get paid. Somebody's gonna pay you.
Right. Just take the short term deal. You don't have to force the long term deal on these teams. Because under this current climate, they're not looking at that unless you something like what some of these other guys got early on. When it's like it's a frenzy. When it's a frenzy early on, then teams are looking at the same guy. There's that competitive thing going on where the other guy is saying, they want him. Like what happened with what happened with Conklin, the big offensive lineman, and and several other players. But when that frenzy dies off, that whatever you get is what you get. If Von Bell really wanted to be New Orleans, just take a short 1-year deal or a 2-year deal and revisit free agency once again. But you would have been back in a familiar season session. Now he probably end up going with Carolina for less money. But in the end, you had that option. He bet on himself and he lost.
Another example, Kenny Vaccaro. If you remember correctly, Kenny Vaccaro, when he left the Saints, he was going into free agency, right? Yep. He sat on the market for a long time. I think it was pretty much almost going into almost all the way through
the halfway
training
position,
camp.
Wasn't it? What did he get now? When they released him, he got signed by the Titans.
The Titans on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
And then what happened,
he
got a 1-year prove-it deal, and he did the smart thing. He signed first of all, he didn't have much of a market. He only had a couple of teams, I think, a few teams that were even interested in him.
Right.
And he had to wait all the way through almost practically training camp to sign that 1-year contract. And when he did, he banked on himself, and he went out and proved that he was worth a longer-term deal. And guess what happened? He got rewarded. And he actually had that 1 year with the Titans. That's how he was able to get the longer-term contract. And he was able to go out there and show that he fit the team, he played well, and he got like a 4-year, 3 or 4 year contract, got good money. So it worked out for him.
Yeah, and that's...
Bell didn't take notice, I guess, and
No, he didn't take notice, DLP. I mean, he gambled on himself. He thought that he was actually going to get the Saints to that range, and the Saints said, no, we don't want that range. And Jenkins had just gotten released, and Sean Payton was waiting for a reason to rectify that old wrong, and he finally did it by getting Jenkins. And that was a very big move because, like I said, the additions of these productive veterans like Jenkins and Sanders in places where you need it the most. The wide receiver room opposite of Mike Thomas, despite what Mike Thomas has done, he's still a young wide receiver in this league. He's still a young wide receiver. And when you have a guy like Sanders there who has that is doing it, that's the respect thing, that he brings all that to the wide receiver room. And you got a guy like Butler who's won a championship, been highly productive, very smart guy in union matters as well. And he's done it, and it's from a defensive back. So these guys coming into the areas of your team where there's an abnormal amount of youth and inexperience is a plus, big plus. So I just love that fact that they were able to address both of these youthful rooms with productive and reputable veterans. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely. Now, me and you're on the same page as far as adding a defensive end. If we can get a defensive end, a veteran defensive end to come on the team, because I really don't know, even if we were to draft one, sometimes it takes those guys a little time for them to develop. And so I'd rather go get regardless, I'd rather sign a veteran to come help out on that at the defensive end position regardless.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm with you on the Griffin. If we're able to put a deal together with him, it'd be nice to get a guy like that, because he's got the experience. He's a Pro Bowler. He knows he's a good damn player. I mean, he brings it every game. So it'd be nice if we were able to land him. Clowney, I doubt we'll be able to get him. He just wants way too much money. Now, if he comes down on his deal and he wants to do a 1-year deal, it would be good for both us and the Saints. So we're not committed to him long term. We do a 1-year deal. He comes in, performs, and who knows what will happen after that. Yeah. So if we can work out something with him, now he's an athletic freak. Everybody knows that. The problem is with Clowney, and he's always been this, is he can't stay healthy.
Yes.
He'll play 8-10 games, and all of a sudden he's hurt 2 or 3 games or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People don't want to give him he gonna have to come up off of that. He gonna have to take a 1-year deal and revisit free agency. And that's not something, that most people, I mean, when you don't know how the market is going to react to you. Now, he was a top pass rusher in terms of what he's done overall. They wasn't looking at this past season when he had, 3 sacks. He was looking at his body of work as a whole. And he is a guy that does know how to get to the quarterback. No doubt about it. But he is not a number 1 defensive end. He's number 2. He's a number 2. He's a complimentary end that lines up, and you can move him around. And probably you would do best if you situate him. Like if you have a guy, you come in there and you play, maybe you can do a little situation with him. That way you can get more value out of a guy like Jadeveon Clowney. But I like Clowney because he's pretty good, but I don't know, what he's willing to take. Nobody's gonna pay you that. And I know he's coming down. Nobody's going. You're not going to get $20 million right now at this stage of the free agent spirit. Absolutely not. You're not.
Listen, you know this too. Several corners, cornerbacks, defensive ends, and quarterback. They never hit the market because usually those teams franchise them,
right? Trade
them, or if they become available, they just never get on the market because they get signed right away.
Mm-hmm.
They don't hit the market. I mean, if they do, it's like a 1-day deal and they're already signed. They already have that deal wrapped up.
Right.
And
Right.
so he's been on the market for a while. That says a lot.
It does. It does. The injury history, the low production this year, and that speaks volumes. And
He's never had 10 sacks in a year. He never had 10.
But he looked really good lined up next to J.J. Watt, didn't he? When coming off the edge, because you don't have to worry about J.J. Watt. That's what kind of situation that would benefit a guy like Jadeveon Clowney. He has to be matched up with another beast. Not a beast, but a wildebeest. He has to be matched up with somebody that's willing to take double teams, and Jadeveon can beat that single team, single block, and get around that to the quarterback or at least fluster him or what have you. But I like Everson Griffin because Everson Griffin has a better body of work and a better resume than a Jadeveon Clowney. You know,
correct.
And that's why I said, and he's not commanding $20 million a year. He's significantly less, and that's why teams are talking to Everson Griffin, and the market is open. So if I was the Saints, and I do like to pill for Viking players from time to time, and I'm really looking for a solid situation, a solid pass rusher that can actually come on the team and provide a pass rush opposite of Cam Jordan. And like I said, Cam had 87 sacks on his career. Everson Griffin has 75. So he's pretty productive in his own right. We know he went AWOL last season, but the man need a change of scenery. We've been up in Minnesota. They're not respecting his mind. He come down here to New Orleans. He plays next to a guy like Cam Jordan. He has a guy like Davenport who could come in and relieve him however they want to do it. This could be something special. That's the only big thing I see. Everything else that the Saints need to do now from this point forward is stuff that could be addressed in the third layer and in the draft. They need a situational pass rusher off top. If they can't get that, then maybe that need to be something they look at in the draft as well. But I would really want a veteran because you got veterans everywhere where it matters now. Sanders in the wide receiver room. But Jenkins back on the back end defense. And wouldn't it be excellent to cap this free agency period with the signing of Everson Griffin? Would absolutely love
Griffin.
it.
Absolutely. I'm with you. If we can land up putting a deal. And here's the thing for Everson Griffin. You come into a winner. You're not going to lose. You come to us. You come and you know what you're coming to. We have a good locker room, very good locker room. We're winning organization. You're going to get paid, and he doesn't even have to sign a long-term deal. He can do a 2-year deal too.
Right.
He can do a short-term deal if he's worried about he wants to get paid again or whatever.
That's true.
1-year, 2-year deal. And then I think when Saints do those deals too, it works out for us too. Because here's the thing: we're not on the hook long term.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we used to make a mistake about. We'll sign these older players. Back in the day, we would sign these older players for 3 or 4 year contracts. Remember Buckner, the defensive tackle that we got from Denver? We signed him to I forgot what his name was. Was it Buckner? He was a defensive tackle. We got from Denver from back in around, I think it was 2012. We signed him. He was on the roster for 2 years, and we let it cut him. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you say we got him from Denver?
Yeah, he was a free agent. He was in Denver, and then we ended up signing him. I think he went to Florida State. He was a defensive tackle. He started for us for a couple years. The point is, we get these players, we sign them long term, and then they don't just work out, and we are on the hook for too much money. And then the next thing you know, the roster's older, and you got all this dead money. So my thing is to sign a guy, a veteran, if they're willing to take a 2-year deal like Emmanuel Sanders did. You take a 2-year deal or 1-year deal with a player option or team option for a second year if you like what you see. And then if you don't like what you see or you think the money's going to be too much, you can let him go after year 1.
Yeah, and that's what they did with Nick Eason. They signed, it was a 4-year deal, but they had a team option on the first to see how he would how he would acclimate to the team. Now, the truth be told was the fact that the Saints didn't know what they were going to get with Nick Eason. What he was going to play, but ultimately they did do a good job of having him to play that role at $5 million. So they have the opportunity to keep him at 5 or what have you. A year. So it's interesting, man, to say the least, how they approach it. But the 1-year deal definitely works out for the team to see what they're getting. And it does get the most out of the player in most cases because the player is trying to make a name for himself to earn another contract either with the team or another team. So it definitely work out. And it's a seldom move that most people need to start using. This focus joint shove time. If I was a free agent out there on the free agency list, I would be employing that. Like if I ain't get picked up and I ain't get the money that I want, and I'm Jadeveon Clowney, I would go and play for a contender. I would take a cut and pay, cut it in half, maybe 10 or 12 million, most of it guaranteed, if not all of it. Signing bonus, 1 year deal, ball, try to get 8 or 9 sacks, revisit free agency again. You'll get a better you'll get a better deal next time around. Coming back. So you didn't get what you want this time, go fishing the next time. That's the bottom line.
Right. So exactly. I mean, it works out for players. If you come in with the right attitude, you come in and you want to win, the money's going to be there. Maybe not what you want right now, but down the road. And it helps both parties because the team's not on the hook for anything long term, and they're not stuck in a bad situation. And then you're able to go out. Maybe it doesn't work out, and you're able to go be free and go somewhere else. So I think we can take that approach, and I think we have gotten better in the last 5-6 years,
right, in
making these kind of deals. We learn from our past mistakes, as I said earlier.
It appears,
and so we're doing, and I think a very underrated person upstairs, I think, is Jeff Ireland.
Right.
He brings a lot to the table. He's helped the team with the draft, and I think he assists Mickey on a lot of these deals too. And they've been around the block. They've been seeing a lot of these what's been going on over the years, and even some of the mistakes they've made. So I think they've gotten way better on these contracts. So let's just hope that this is what happens. And I'm very confident going in this draft, Q. I'm really excited. And, hey, man, it was a pleasure talking to you again. You have a nice weekend and all the fam. Who dat?
Who dat to you, DLP. Be safe, brother, and we'll talk to you later, fam.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Peace. That's DLP 2600. Very insightful guy. I like hearing talking to the brother. He chime in, drop some knowledge, like hearing from him. Big ups to our callers, Drew Goddamn Breeze and DLP 2600. Appreciate the family. Live lines open, family. 504-475-4482. 504-475-4482. Big ups to the family members in the live stream. Demi, good to see my girl Demi on the line. Who that to you, Demi? Baraka Longmire. What's up, Baraka? Who that to your fam? Says Sanders should have been with the Saints last season. They had opportunity, but listen, they wanted a 3rd and 4th round pick for that man. San Francisco was desperate. They played the game. It got them to the Super Bowl. They just didn't handle business like they were supposed to. So, it worked insofar. Who that to you as well? Sub-Zero, who that to you? 985 Live. He says, okay, that's Josh. What up, fam? All right, we got another caller. What's up, fam? Thank you for calling Sportscom. Who I'm speaking with?
You talking to the Iceman?
Iceman, what up, Iceman? How you doing, fam? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I actually just checked in. I was wondering, had you already gone over, talked about all the different moves going on in the NFC South already?
Well, we talked most about the Saintly moves, and we covered in the previous shows about some of the moves. Now, we didn't talk about the Ty Gurley move. We didn't too much talk about the Ty Gurley move, but we did talk about the Teddy Bridgewater. We talked about Keith Kirkwood going over there. We talked about several other moves. Of course, we at nausea dealt with the Tom Brady move, and they picked up an offensive lineman from the Colts, Joe Haig, to go over there as well to kind of protect them. So it's several other decisions that these rival teams are making, and we expected as much for them to try to go all out, man. These teams desperate as hell, man. They desperate as hell, man. Bottom line.
You're absolutely right about that. I don't think the Ty Gurley deal is really that. I don't think it's really that big of a deal as far as like competitiveness to the Saints, because he has to prove that he can stay healthy first. If he can prove that he can stay healthy, then that would be something. Because they already got the receivers over there, so all they need is like a running back out of the backfield. I mean, he's damn near Alvin Kamara. I mean, when healthy, he's pretty good,
Well, Gurley is actually they're saying that he's healthy, but we know that he had a reoccurring issue with the knee, but the Rams issue, they just lost confidence in him, and they made a mistake in signing him with all that money. So they had to take a major cap hit to get rid of him. And he went back home. He came from Georgia. He played collegiately for the Bulldogs. So he went back home to Atlanta to play for his hometown team. Funny part, he took a 1-year deal for $5 million. And really the guy they like a lot is not really Gurley, is Ito. Ito Smith's there. So Ito is the guy that they're anticipating to get the most of that. So we'll see how that plays. But the Falcons, my goodness, they've all the people that they've lost. The Trufant, they starting cornerback, he lost confidence there. They got rid of Freeman, who had took a step back, but you pick up Gurley. It makes no sense. You should have just kept Freeman. It cost you $3 more million. It ain't like you're gonna do anything with it. I mean, they still have a bevy of things to deal with. But I think the Falcons might rely on the draft to try to fulfill some of the needs. Carolina, they still got a ways to go, and they're trying to bridge that gap with a veteran quarterback with Bridgewater. But then you look at guys like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who has a brand new quarterback, and they're gonna have to acclimate him into the system. Or I think really too is that Bruce Arians will kind of pick from Tom Brady's brain what he's comfortable with doing and implementing plays that he likes or he's familiar with that Tampa's doing, or bring plays that he was doing from New England. Either way, it's going to be a learning curve for both teams to learn each other. The Saints have the advantage because the Saints is not really going to do anything new that they haven't. I mean, running the ball more is not a great change in philosophy in terms of you have Emmanuel Sanders. Drew Brees is 1, 2, 3, get rid of the ball. Sanders is going to be there. They're going to add some more pieces in that offense. They're not done yet. They're going to add some more pieces on defense. But still, the Saints are the toast of the town in the NFC South.
Exactly. Now, I 100% agree with you. I do have a couple questions about the free agency.
Yes, sir.
I do like the signing of, Emmanuel Sanders. I think that would be a good, because he's a lot older, so he'll be able to kind of, I feel like he will be able to, guide a Traquan Smith. And, I just had a question about that. I thought that Kirk was better than Traquan Smith. That's just my opinion. I thought he had a higher upside than Traquan Smith, man. I wanted to know, why are the Saints doing everything they can possible to hold on to Traquan Smith, man? I mean, are they seeing? Is he doing something in practice that we're not seeing?
And I think it's Traquan Smith, man, is an enigma as so far as, and we called this last year about Traquan. I went back and looked at the collegiate film of Traquan Smith and what he can do. He has speed, he can catch. I think most of the time the Saints were using him out of position, and really you would have seen a different growth curve, growth expansion from Traquan Smith had the Saints have utilized him in a starting capacity, knowing that you was getting minimal production from the wide receiver position. Opposite of Mike Thomas, it would have been smart upon you to put Traquan Smith in that job so he can at least get the starter reps and play next to him. And they didn't do that. They kept Ted Ginn there, and they let him go. You knew you was going to let Ted Ginn Jr. go. That was stupid. You're going to hold on to Traquan Smith. He needs a development. And I think that's a part of it. He's showing you, like he had the game against the Washington Redskins when he just blew the hell up. Then he disappeared. You're a young wide receiver in his third year. This is when it all supposed to come together for you in the third year. So the Saints, much like us all, are waiting to see what this third round pick could do in his third season. So perhaps a lot of us are looking at it and saying we need wide receivers, but we forget sometimes, rightfully so, that Traquan Smith is sitting there as a third round pick that the Saints took out of Central Florida, who had incredible upside, but he has slow development in the Saints offense, which is weird as hell because it is a wide receiver's heaven to play with Drew Brees. It's just the confidence thing, losing his confidence, the injuries. Teddy Bridgewater didn't utilize him. When he did, he overthrew him. He took that hit in the face where he busted, so he's not a chump, he's not soft. He took that hit that showed me that he got some heart. But it's the thing this year that I cannot help but to think the same way about Traquan Smith that I'm thinking about Marcus Williams in this year, that these guys are going to have their most productive years as players because of the experience in the same offense and coped with the fact that the Saints have added a guy like Sanders who's bringing all of that wisdom and he's a tremendous talent with young assets, young wide receivers, like he did with San Francisco and other places. He mentors these guys to be productive. And you have a mentor like him and Mike Thomas, that will make Traquan Smith kind of thrive a bit, and the same with Jenkins and Marcus Williams. So I'm loving the fact that those two veteran productive players have chose to be here in the rooms where we need them the most. So be mindful of Traquan Smith heading forward, and also that brings an interesting point. Is that also to be mindful of the fact that if the Saints don't take a wide receiver in the first round, they might be thinking that they can see Traquan Smith taking a step in this year, or in the third round, or taking a wide receiver later in the draft, probably after the fourth round and back. And they don't take one either, but the 1 or 3 or what have you, between the 1 and 3 picks. Be mindful of the mindset of the team, thinking that perhaps Traquan Smith, they're looking for him to take a leap in his third year.
Man, that makes so much sense, man. I did have one thing to say about, our quarterback position. Now I'm going to make a lot of people mad, man. But I've been saying, I've been lambasting Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and I've cooled down from that since, man. Sometimes my head just be so hot, man. I just be lambasting everybody, man. But man, but I like the Drew Brees signing. I like Drew, coming back. I would have preferred that we got, kept, some type of quarterback and groomed him and let him, walk into the future and stuff like that. But
Right.
I understand, Drew Brees is an extension of the coach on the floor. I understand that. And I do have some questions about him because, he had that 5-game rest last season, so we don't know what his arm is going to be like towards the end of the season, or if they're going to play the backup towards the end of the season to spare Drew Brees. So, if they're hopefully they, making the playoff chances and winning the division and stuff like that, would they let the second string, which would be Taysom Hill probably, would they let him play the last few remaining games or something like that? So it's interesting to see how that dynamic would work.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Drew Brees, so he has some weapons, man. And I can't help the feeling that, we can't – I feel like with Drew, it's like a give and a take, because his upside is he understands and reads the defenses so fast that he can go through and read the receivers twice, and see who's open. But I feel like, where he's given up is that, the lack of throwing the ball down the field really hurts us, because it allows the quarterbacks and the safeties to just sit on the route. And Michael
Right.
Thomas isn't a deep receiver. He's basically 7 yards in a cut, or he may get deep with it one time, but the majority of his routes are slants and very close routes to the line of scrimmage and stuff. And he kind of bullies the corners because he's real strong and stuff. But the only question I have is how is Drew going to affect these receivers? Because Emmanuel Sanders can get deep. Deontay Harris can get deep. And I feel like we can't unlock their full potential because the lack of the consistent deep ball. And not only the lack of the consistent deep ball, but Brees, he really isn't that mobile. And for whatever reason, I feel like I'm not asking him to be Lamar Jackson, or anybody like that. But could you slide and get 5? Could you what I'm saying? Could you get 5 yards and slide real quick? So I feel like he's at a detriment, because the things that are making the quarterbacks, elite nowadays, he is really not good at either one of them. He's good at he can throw the deep ball, but consistently, and that's what, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jackson, what I'm saying, that's what they can do, week in and week out, is throw the bombs down the field. And not only that, they're an escape artist. They don't have to be like the fastest, quarterbacks and stuff like that. I mean, Kyle Allen isn't the fastest quarterback, but he's mobile. He can move around and get you, 5 to 6 yards and get out of bounds. And I feel like we need a quarterback that can do that. And I'm going to be honest. This may sound like pie in the sky, but the way that I know a lot of people are going to be looking at me crazy. But hell, if the Cowboys don't want Dak Prescott, I would like to see what Dak Prescott can do. or if Cam Newton would take a deal and get on the bench and heal himself for a year, I wouldn't mind turning the keys over to Cam Newton after Drew left. That's in the hopes that he wouldn't, or not the hopes, but in the likelihood that he wouldn't play the next year. But like how you said, Q, we don't know what he would do now that Tom Brady in the division. But I would like to see if Dallas didn't want to, give Prescott a chance. I wouldn't mind seeing what Prescott could do. He's mobile. He could extend plays, throw the ball down the field, athletic. You know what I'm saying? And he's not that bad of a quarterback. I don't think he turns the ball over at an alarming rate or anything like that. I know he's asking for some money, but hell, we paid Drew Brees $30 million damn near every year. Hell, we could probably fit him once Drew's gone. What you think about that, man?
I mean the Dak Prescott thing. I don't think Dak the Cowboys gonna let Dak go away. I mean, sooner or later they'll work out a long-term deal to keep Dak in Dallas. They don't have much of a team without him. The Cam Newton scenario, I don't think that will occur because if they release him, which end up Carolina probably going to do by next week, they'll end up releasing him and freeing him up and freeing up some of that cap money because they could utilize that. I don't think Cam's a person that we're going to look at down here either because there's still concerns about his shoulder and his foot. So that's another issue. So I don't think he fits the bill as well. So, I mean, if you look at the best ways the Saints can possibly deal with the quarterback situation is to go through the draft. You already locked up Drew for the next couple of years, in my opinion, in terms of him playing, not just one. But you have a quarterback you can afford to now that you've made some of your biggest moves. You fulfilled it because basically, and it's like you need some more DBs. Not really. If you look at it like this, I think the Saints secondary could be pretty much set right now. Jenkins and Williams will be on the back end with Janoris Jenkins and Marshawn Lattimore starting 1 and 2. Nickelback will be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He will slide from the safety to the nickelback position with Pat Robertson at the dime position with the reduction of salary. Your secondary is basically set once the Saints extend out Janoris Jenkins. So that you're set there, in my opinion. In terms of the QB situation, it does, once you have addressed most of the needs, the fullback need with the Michael Burton signing, the left guard signing of Andrus Peat for 5 years, fulfills the offensive line that Drew's comfortable with playing behind. Then you have Emmanuel Sanders opposite, which is arguably your biggest need, period. So you addressed most of your biggest need. What's left in terms of free agency, where you want to get somebody impactful, in my opinion, is the defensive pass rusher, Everson Griffin, Marcus Golden, somebody like that can come in that knows how to rush the quarterback. Now, the quarterback position right now, there's not many options unless you trade for somebody, and I don't know if they want to do that. And then the reality is behind it is that you still have a tender Taysom Hill, which the Saints are going to sign a tender for 5, whatever it is, and bring him back to play once they dangle him out there long enough. And then, you want to address the draft the QB position through the draft, which will find the type of quarterback that you're looking for. You'll find the guy that's mobile and who could throw, whether it's Love, who some people predict that he'll be gone by the top 15 picks. Some people say Jalen Hurts, who's a second or third round pick, in some people's opinion. So sooner or later, being that you address the serious positions, the rest is purely depth, and the edge rusher position is serious. But the rest of this could be fulfilled. Saints positions on the team now could be fulfilled by just drafting. The QB should be very high because the Saints that's the key thing sticking out. You want to do it the right way now. You have Drew Brees on a 4-year deal, really a 2-year deal. And my opinion is that I think that the Saints would do themselves a great service if they draft a quarterback and then let him sit behind Drew a year or two with Taysom doing his gimmicky packages. But at the end of the day, that's the best option, especially this late in the free agent period, unless you be a guy to think that you should go out and trade for a quarterback like Jacoby Brissett or Andy Dalton. I mean, that's the only two options, and I wouldn't recommend either one of those because Dalton and Brissett make a lot of money, and in terms of the cap. The best thing to do is to look at a quarterback in the draft and groom him to your system. Sean Payton had extended time and his group has extended time to look at Jalen Hurts. They're not talking about Jalen Hurts. They didn't ask Jalen Hurts no questions. Only quarterback they said they talked to was the guy from Michigan, Shea Patterson, who used to be at Ole Miss before he went to Michigan. And he fits the running quarterback style. But they seen Jalen Hurts down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. They seen a lot of them. They seen a lot of Jordan Love. But all you heard about was Jordan Love. You hear a damn thing about Jalen Hurts. That's smoke. That's smoke. Because Jalen Hurts went to the combine, tore up the combine. Nobody, no people came up and said, oh, Jalen Hurts surpassed this person. He's purposely being suppressed for whatever reason so that somebody could take him high. It happened every year. It happened every year, or at least one person draft stock will be suppressed. It happened to Lamar Jackson, and he balling all over these quarterbacks out here. Now, he's still going to learn as he moves forward. He didn't have a great playoff game, but that's to be expected with a young quarterback. That has to be learned. But a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's 40-something and 6 or 8 in his college career, who threw for as many touchdowns. I mean, his resume, his accomplishments, a natural-born leader, all that dude's pluses are way past his minuses, and you will be a fool, a stark raving fool to pass up Jalen Hurts in a system where Sean Payton loves quarterbacks like Taysom Hill. Jalen Hurts is Taysom Hill without not the toughness, because Taysom is more like a running back, quarterback type of dude. He'll run over your lower shoulder. Jalen Hurts won't do that to you. Jalen Hurts will just fake you out your shoes and run around your ass. He's usually the fastest dude on the field, and he does have lapses at times, but the majority of his game translates to the pro game. And if the Saints get him, they can take that guy, set him behind Drew for a year or two, and then when the time comes, he can keep the surgeons going. You need a winner with a winning mentality, and Jalen Hurts fits but that's why I'm big on Jalen. I don't think the Saints get Jordan Love. Jordan Love going to be gone before the Saints pick. But Jalen Hurts should be there. Jalen Hurts should be there, and I would love to have him in the black and gold uniform. But the rest of them QBs you mentioned, I don't think you're going to go. The Saints will go with either one of those guys, because either the money is funny. You talking about a Jacoby Brissett or Andy Dalton? That's wrong. Cam Newton, Glam Newton is all wrong. They need to think about trading him to the fashion industry. That guy don't want to play no more football, man. Everything he doing is wrong, man. I seen one when he was dapping off the dudes and he was doing this little gesture, where I'm like, what the hell is, man? Dude, nah, bro. We don't need no Glam Newtons down here. No, forget about that. But we don't need Cam, and damn sure that I think the best option, the cheapest option, and the right option is to take a quarterback in the draft. They're littered with them. And you'll have an opportunity at 24 to get one if you take it. And truth be told, with this good free agency period that the Saints have, signing the guys they done signed all of the needs. They can address another wide receiver just to make the room better. But the truth be told is the Saints have done a pretty damn good job, and they're still not done addressing. You're going to see them sign a few cheap veterans to come in and fulfill some of these guys. You're going to see some of these guys come back. You'll see a Cameron Tom come back for cheap pay. You're going to see a few other guys the Saints had, like a Michael Ola. You're going to see them guys recycle, regurgitate back into the team. You're going to see other guys that the Saints had on their undrafted squads, the guys, the linebackers like Sankey, who should have made the team last year, Caden Ellis, who's there, who's healthy, Alex Anzalone, who's 100% healthy. So you're going to have some of these guys to come back, and the Saints going to bring some veterans in and some undrafted guys in, and they're going to fulfill a team on the back end. But this team still one more, maybe two to do you good. But the Saints really, of the two more impactful needs, an edge rusher to set it all off to get the pass rush back on top, man, the Saints, they'll be good to go.
I agree with that, man. I thank you for taking my call, Q.
All right, my boy. Take it light when ice, man, and I'm going to talk to you later, brother. Peace.
All right, who that?
Who that, baby? All right, fam, you still on the line here, bro?
Yeah, I'm still on the line.
All right, who's calling in, fam?
Just your
DJ.
basketball best friend.
DJ, you took too long. Already recognized you. What up, DJ? What's good with it, bro?
What's going on, man? This coronavirus, they need to come on, man, because I'm missing my basketball, bro.
I know, bro. It's the Pelicans, man. Were just about them. They were making stuff exciting, and now they done shut everything down, bro. It's this whole little situation. You know, I'm gonna share something with you. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and I remember if you go on Google and put in pandemic, and then, you Google it, and then what it does is take you to a series of articles. One of the articles of which was about from CNN, I believe it was. And there were several other articles that said about a pandemic is coming. And that was 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden the pandemic is here. So, how did you have the foresight to know that? What numbers were you looking at to know that it was coming? How could you predict pandemics or food shortages or what have you? I'm saying to a degree you can if you have something to do with them. And I'm going to just leave it at that. But the reality at the end of the day is that we've never seen casinos shut down, the economy impacted as hard as it is, whole sporting leagues from whatever shut down, and now they're putting reruns on television, all this kind of stuff. Now, we're fortunate enough to get a little of the sports news that we got, and they're anticipating that by April or another 2 or 3 weeks from now, that things will normalize and come back to what it was as they're figured out. And I merely say that this is not the one here. This is not the one, meaning this is not the big one. This is merely, in my opinion, a beta test. And then you will know in another year or so, then something else comes. And I'm saying that because the numbers stipulate it otherwise. If you look at how these things are named, it's number 19 right now. What about number 18? Why didn't they tell you about number 18? Why didn't they tell you about number 17? Why didn't they tell you about 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11? All the way back to 1. It's 19 now. What happened to the previous 18 incarnations? See, this is the type of foolishness that people need to get. That's why I said educate yourself, build your library, and understand how this world really works. Understand and realize how this world really works. Because we critical thinking, we sports fans, and we all this kind of stuff, but we also real people, smart people as well. And smart people and critical things can enjoy anything. And that's the reality at the end of the day. But as far as the Pelicans go, they're supposed to be something where they're trying to revisit the league by pushing it further back, DJ. They're going to have an extended, they want to extend it back into the summer, be late, and they're going to have to adjust it on the end when the season restarts to allow it. So at the end of the day, it's not totally done. It's just shut down until they figure out what we're dealing with here to know exactly what's going on, but usually, the true epidemic is not this here stuff going on out here right here. You go check the numbers. Cancer's killing people 1,000 times over than anything. But there ain't it's no flags being blown about that. There is no, and then we foolish enough to think that it comes out of our own genes. That it's bad genes that God put in us that goes bad and causes. That's foolish talk. God don't put nothing in you that turn into nothing like that, man. These people told you a bill of goods, sold you some nonsense. We don't accept that bullshit. I'm about to get off on them. But the reality at the end of the day is that they pick and choose what they want to talk about and blow it all up at the same time. Remember, most of them owned by the same people anyway, and they all running the same script. And I'm not telling you to take it lightly. I'm telling you to educate yourself on this type of stuff because it's been time. We've been floating on the cloud and all the kind of stuff. And it's time, people, you got to understand how life really works and who really out there trying to do you something and your family. And like I said, understand that, family. Y'all better build up your libraries. There was a book that I read a long time ago. If you're a reader, it's 1,400 pages, but it'll get your ass right. It's called Tragedy and Hope. Tragedy and Hope. Tragedy and Hope. Not Tragedy of Hope or something like old Barack did. No, none of that nonsense. We talk about Tragedy and Hope. Tragedy and Hope is written by Carol C. Quigley. He was a mentor to Bill Clinton. He was a professor at Georgetown University. It's 1,386 pages of absolute mind-blowing information. And this guy was an insider who was brought into their groups, and he was told about them. And he was so enlightened and so happy about what they was telling him that he decided to write a book to tell everybody else. And he thought that people would be as excited as he was about what the people was doing. And it had the adverse effect. People was pissed off. People was upset and everything. Get it and put it into your libraries while most of us are home, our schedule's cut in half. Now is the time to start educating yourself. Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley. 1,386 pages of absolute realism. Get an earful and an eyeful and get your mind right on it. Trust and believe. There's other books in the library, but that one there'll get you together. But anyway, yeah, DJ. But as far as the Pelicans talk, man, the bottom line is that sooner or later we're gonna wait toward and see what the Silver and the rest of them do. But they can't do a damn thing until after all this other stuff subside, bro. So you know what it is.
Yeah, I know. Besides basketball, well, you kind of answered my first question. What about the quarterback situation? Kind of answered my question on the last caller. My question is, since we do have Emmanuel Sanders now, because they've been trying to get him from Denver, so that's been a while now. Who besides the offense, who do you see what else are we trying to pick up in this free agent?
I mean,
because I know we're gonna probably. I know we're gonna probably pick up. I believe so. Another quarterback on that first pick. Now who? I don't know. Cause like you said, everybody want Jordan Love, and you know some of the sports fans they want Jalen Hurts. But besides that, you know, answer the question.
Well, I mean, in free agency, who I look at them getting, I left to get. I mean, my opinion was I think the Saints would do a world of good if they can land a Everson Griffin or a Marcus Golden. That's a guy that a lot of people don't know too much about. He had 10 sacks with the Giants last year. He's a productive guy that could play defensive end or linebacker for you. He's a very productive guy, and I would like to have guys like that on the team because the Saints' defensive pass rush diminished when Marcus Davenport got hurt last year. So they didn't have the sack production or the pass rush from that side. And in the playoffs, they couldn't get away from it. And then we found out that Cam was hurt. He had a groin injury with a muscle pulled away from the bone pretty much. And he was less effective, which explained why they couldn't get to the quarterback. And that's a shame. Because the Saints can't afford to play games with the pass rush. I think if you're going to throw money at a need on the defense, it should be the pass rush. We don't play with the pass rush. If you can line up a guy that got 75 sacks on his career, and like Griffin, go get him. Golden is a guy that can get to the quarterback too. Or if you have to in the draft, get a guy you need to take. Like, look at the 49ers did. They stunk for a lot of years, but they were using first-round draft picks to build a defensive line because they understood that the true strength of the defense is the defensive line. If you have a defensive line that can stuff the run up front and then fire off the edge and get sacks and pressures on the quarterback, it severely helps your defense. That secondary wasn't all that. Now, Richard Sherman's an age guy. He's a smart guy back there, you know, but the truth be told is that the defensive line helps your defense because your secondary, because what it does is when those guys get pressures on the quarterback, it makes them uneasy, forces them to throw the ball when they're not supposed to. The guy, roughing quarterbacks up, sometimes they get to the ball, force fumbles. And then what it does is when you're rushing with 4, you can drop everybody else in coverage and handle business. Bottom line. So if I was the Saints and I was looking for one or maybe one or two impactful move to make, I would most certainly visit the defensive line and see if I can get Griffin or Marcus Golden, make a deal with those guys and bring them here and assist with what we have here. And I think the secondary is pretty much set. Now, you could draft a young cornerback and bring them here or what have you, just to have them in there. But based on what I'm looking at, the secondary is pretty much set is what it is. Because Chauncey Gardner is going to slide down to the nickel position. Pat Robertson is your dime back currently, and they just re-signed Justin Hardy, who will be your 5th back. So, I mean, the secondary, they're going to add another safety some kind of way, maybe a young safety, JT Gray's there as well. So you got to look at JT Gray at safety behind guys like Marcus Williams and Malcolm Jenkins. And you got Saquon Hampton's back. So the Saints could possibly add another young safety back there, undrafted wise, to compete. They do it every year. But truth be told, the defensive line to me is the most impactful position that I will look at for the next move if I was the Saints. Anything else is the restructuring of contracts to free up more money to then extend out contracts to the talent that we have. That should be the next realm after the defensive end. Stuff is just being re-signing the players. offering new contracts, offering Kamara a deal, offering Ramczyk a deal, offering Marshawn Lattimore a deal, offering Demario Davis a deal, offering our core role players on a team deals after that defensive play, and then save enough money to be able to address the free agency once we get our draft picks. You only have 5 to sign, if you don't trade back or forward, however, you can afford to then, because the free agency period, the Saints have set themselves up to have a wonderful draft. So I would say that. And then when you get to the draft, you got to look at quarterback, because there are none here that you're going to take in free agency. You don't want to trade for anything they got, because most of them contracts are ridiculous. Andy Dalton is not the future of the team. You don't want him here. Cam Newton is a joke. And the rest of those guys just, they're just not on par. So you will want a free agent. Go get you a Jalen Hurts, maybe a Jordan Love. Guys like that, they could be available. Saints could package picks and move up and grab a guy. It gives them some flexibility, because now you don't have to totally just, I got to hit on this draft. I got to hit on the draft now. All of a sudden, I got to hit on the draft now. That's something that they don't have to too much worry about anymore. They filling a lot of needs, and I'm pretty sure they're not done yet. Go ahead, DJ.
Man, I was watching the video earlier, and there was like Tampa Bay quarterback, not Tom Brady, the other one. Can't get his name out right. They were like, well, since Tom Brady is filling the show, why not Jameis Winston come down to New Orleans to buy Drew Brees? I'm like, hell no. Now for Drew Brees to get hurt again, no hoping. And we turn on TV and Jameis Winston throwing the pick 6. Hell no. No. I would rather either Cam Newton, Jacoby Brissett, or one of them back there. Nope, I'm not doing it.
No, I don't.
So,
yeah.
Well, with that being said, hey, can you also update us on the free agent list? Because I know like half the team was on free agents, and like defense and offense. Because I'm trying to do Madden 20 and trying to, make moves like that. So, I mean, they're just advice. I mean, you don't have to do it, but,
No, I ain't no problem, DJ. I could pull up the, give me a second. Let me see if I can find it. I usually have a list of stuff that I have set up just in case, I need to pull out the list. Give me a second. Let me see if I can locate the list that I had today. Give me just a second, because I know maybe not 100. I had 100 lists and it wasn't updated. And I found one that had the current ones that's on there. I'm going to share my screen with the family members in just a second so they can see the list that I'm seeing. So momentarily, it'll pop up for you and you'll be able to see the list. But what I'm basically going to pull up is, this is from ESPN's. This is their list. I had another one that had like 100 of them on there, but we'll just use their list for right now. But as you can see at the top of the list is Jadeveon Clowney, who wants $1 million, $20 million a season to be the quarterback on this team. And I just don't think that's feasible, for him to command that. Second is Jameis Winston. Now, Jameis, like I've covered this, had 33 touchdowns, according to the statistics. 30 and 30, I think it was. 30 touchdown passes, 30 interceptions. And he's only 26 years of age, which is something that a lot of people are really big on. And I think that's something right there that the Saints, hold on, let me refresh my page for a second, family. Give me just a second. Let me refresh this page here. But they have Jameis Winston on there, 26 years of age. And whether or not Jameis Winston, I just don't think he fits here. I mean, he's a head case in my opinion. And they've had several opportunities to try to be able to fix Jameis Winston, whatever's wrong with him. And you had quarterback-friendly guys, coaches that went there and every damn thing. And it just didn't work. So I'd say no to Jameis Winston. And then you look at the rest of the free agency from Jadeveon Clowney, Winston, then Robbie Anderson is there. He's next. He's looking for a payday. There's Brashad Perriman, who did okay for Tampa last year. And, of course, right there At number 5 at the list is Marcus Golden. This is the guy that I was talking about, who was pretty good for the Giants. He's only 29 years of age. And they say he's one of the few bright spots for the Giants. Recorded 10 sacks, including one that came as a result of a post-game stat change. There weren't many takers for him in 2019 market, but his sacks total will generate a few more eyes. Marcus Golden is a guy that they consider him a linebacker, but he did play defensive end. He does have the propensity to play defensive end. The guy could help out, is what I'm saying. He could help out. So perhaps the team could focus on another pass rusher. But then you have guys like Jermaine Ifedi, the offensive tackle, Von Bell's on the list, Jason Peterson, Ndamukong Suh, and then 5 at the number 10 pick in their rankings is edge rusher Everson Griffin, who's 32 years of age. Remember, he has 75 total sacks in his whole career. And he terminated a year. He wasn't even supposed to be in free agency, but he wanted to come to free agency. He had problems with the Minnesota Vikings, and he needs a change of scenery. Now, he mentioned that he had some, he left for a little bit to focus on his mental health, but he just needs a change of scenery, man. He just needs a change of scenery. And he's 32 years of age. You can sign him to a 2-year deal, let him come down. Now, in 2019, the guy had 8 sacks. Now, he had 8 sacks, and he didn't play because of mental health. He wasn't injured or nothing. But imagine if he had played the full season, he would have had double-digit sacks pretty much the way he plays. So having a guy like Everson Griffin would be a plus. Then there's Jimmy Smith, who the Saints can actually get Jimmy Smith, who's a big cornerback. He's 32 years of age. If you want to add another veteran to the mix, they can actually probably get him for pretty cheap. He's a huge cornerback, dealt with a lot of injuries, but he was a starter for a long time. He'll be kind of reduced to a reserve role, and he could be a guy that can help you if you're looking for that. Eric Reed's one of my favorite guys. I think that he's been getting a bad deal. He should have been with the Carolina Panthers. I wanted the Saints to sign him. He's a former LSU guy. He's there. Then there's Logan Ryan. Somebody asked me in the chat about Logan Ryan, and do they think that Logan Ryan? I think that was GM Kevin asked me about that, about Logan Ryan. I don't think so, GM Kev. I still like what the Saints are right now, and the only guy they should add, and in terms of that, I mean, if you're looking for a veteran, Jimmy Smith will probably come cheap. Logan Ryan, it wouldn't be a bad pick either there, But what do you do with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? So I mean, it depends on which way you're looking at it. And then there's Darrell Williams, who's the offensive lineman for the Carolina Panthers. If you're looking for another guy that could perhaps aid your offensive line. So that's some of the people there that are mentioned that's still left in the draft. At least 15 of them that are people that you could consider for some role on your team. So I mean, but like I said, the thing that's left for New Orleans, because the wide receiver position was a duo. You say, well, Q, Emmanuel Sanders. Now you can get Emmanuel Sanders, and perhaps you can bring in another. You can stand to bring in another wide receiver as well. That's not a draft pick. Maybe another veteran guy, a young veteran, will help you. And you got to upgrade that draft room, that wide receiver room.
What about Michael Crabtree? No, he's too old.
Yeah, Crabtree. I don't think he fits in what you want to do. But because you got to. My thing is the Saints still needed some help in the wide receiver room. Traquan Smith is a big part of that. If Traquan Smith was producing or showing something, then you wouldn't hear people yelling for wide receiver as much as you've been hearing them yell. Sanders does quiet the yelling down and provides a reliable option that Drew will go to. Traquan Smith is not there yet. He's not there yet, but he will get help. But he will get help from Emmanuel Sanders, tutoring him, and he'll be motivated by the draft pick. I still say the Saints will take a draft pick, wide receiver, maybe a third pick. If they maybe with the first round draft pick and maybe with the third, they can address and get a Jalen Hurts, or maybe they can package picks and move up in the second round to get another pick. I still say the Saints need more picks, because if I was the Saints, I would get a second round pick so I can go and get a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think if the Saints can get a Jalen Hurts and then trade up to the second round and snatch a Clyde Edwards-Helaire and plug him into your offense, knowing that you're not paying Kamara, perhaps they will pay Kamara. The free agency was so wacky and weird this year that both the people that I didn't think that they would sign, they signed them. They signed both Andrus Peat, who in my opinion was gone. But the market was so bad that the Saints couldn't find anybody else, so they said, you know what, let's just bring Pete back. And the same thing with what they look at David Onyemata. He was the first one they signed. So I'm like, wow, that is something else. So, and then, you know, you have those two familiar guys back that provide that youthfulness, and they should ascend in their careers moving forward. But as far as the Saints, like, you just need a complimentary pass rusher, somebody that know what they're doing to help out Davenport and Cam Jordan. You need pass rushers. They don't have enough pass rushers on this team as currently constructed.
Well, y'all be safe. I'm still on. I'm watching the PR Media Network on my game through YouTube. So I'm gonna stay in the chat. Y'all be safe. Keep it cool, and who that?
Who that to you, DJ? Big ups to you, bro, and be safe out there, cuz.
You too.
Peace. That's DJ, man. Good to see the brother on the line, man. One of the brothers that was impacted by the arena situation. DJ works down there, and with the arena shutdowns that impacted his jobs down there, and Zion Williamson's helping out. And of course, it's just a terrible situation, man. Terrible situation going on right now in the United States and the world, period, man. Really it is. Really it is. You know, it come a time, man, sooner or later, people got to get it, man. They got to understand this stuff, man. Who really runs it? Do we really run it, or they run it? You know, who really have the power? The people have the power, but you got to tell the people that they have the power. You know, because we often believe that everybody believe and see things as we do. And just because you wouldn't harm somebody don't mean that somebody else won't. Happens all the time. We can't see it because we looking at it through our own lens. And that is a severe weakness. You cannot do that. Looking at it from somebody else's lens does not make you weaker. It provides a vision and helps you protect yourself and your family better. I often said that I could not afford not to know that. The stuff that I'll be telling y'all on here. Know about psychology, to know about all the stuff that we talk about here. I could not afford to, even if I didn't want to. But I do it because as a father, I have to protect my family. The only way I can protect my family is if I armor up with that knowledge. If I armor up with that information, because information gets you in formation. And right information puts you in the correct alignment to be able to protect yourself and your family. But if you don't have the proper information, you get what they call misinformation, which aligns you in the wrong formations, which makes you easier to be attacked. Oftentimes, man, it's just build your libraries, people. Build them, because these times, they are talked about in the scriptures. And only the smartest, strongest, brightest, and best of us make it out. Not anybody less. Armor up yourselves. Armor up your spirit. Get stronger, get healthier. Get more, with more time on your hand. Enlighten yourself and prepare yourself. Spiritually, physically, and mentally. Because there are a lot of people out there that don't even have none of that. They're just totally physical. And they'll be tossed to the wind. It's just a shame, man. This didn't happen before. This didn't happen back in the early 1900s. Research it. Remember, history is cyclic. Everything happens in periods of cycles. I hate to go on that side for that. But when DJ said what he said and what he's going through with himself and everything, it just shows how frail things can be at time. You know, it just shows the reality of things. And it's something else. So our prayers out to DJ and to everybody impacted by this nonsense. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to a friend of mine who passed away last week, and I'm gonna pull up the article and share it with the family members. Most people from New Orleans probably familiar with the DJ by the name of DJ Black Emmanuel. DJ Black Emmanuel was a friend of mine, and I met DJ Black Emmanuel. I haven't seen him for a while, in over, goodness, since Katrina. But prior to Katrina, DJ Black Emmanuel used to come to my store and hang out at the store. He was a good friend of mine, but he passed on this past weekend from the virus. So big shout outs, rest in peace to DJ Black Emmanuel and big ups to his family. What's going on, family? Thanks for calling the Sports Coma, who I'm speaking with. Oh, you still on here, family? All right, hang up. They must have didn't get through. But family, whoever that was, please feel free to call back and I'll get you on the line. But let me see if I could pull up the article from him, and I'm pretty sure most people heard of DJ Black Emmanuel. But let me see if I could pull up the article from him. Oh my goodness, I had it earlier, but he passed away, and it just, it goes to show when it gets close to you, when, stuff happens, and it's to pull people you don't know, but when it's somebody that's close to you, it kind of have a different effect on you. So, big ups to him, and rest in power to DJ Black Emmanuel. And let me see if I can get, for whatever reason, I can't find his article. Nope, I can't find this article. I'm gonna keep looking for it, fam, so I can share it, and show y'all. I'm gonna share my screen with y'all. But may I answer a call here? We got a call on the line here. Let me pick it up. What's going on, family? Thank you for calling the Sports Coma. Who am I speaking with?
What's going on, Q?
What up, brother Paul? How you doing, sir?
Oh, just glad and hope everybody's doing well and safe and sound, man.
Oh yeah, same here, man. It same thing, brother Paul. Everybody, kind of in slow motion and prayer mode, man, preparing themselves and everything like that, man. But it's a lot of, stuff to do. But we gonna stay positive on this thing, man. We know it's a war, but as soldiers, you got to be ready for it. You got to be ready to fight.
You got to, Q. You got to with it. But to me, it's mighty funny. Sean Payton, the only one came up with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Out of everybody else, think about it, now. You started something with all that mind talk you were doing earlier. Making me wonder. So we might find out what Carmichael gonna be doing, sooner than what we anticipated. What you think?
I think at the end of the day that Sean Payton will be fine. He should be fine. He'll get hopefully he'll be fine. He'll get the treatment. And from what I'm hearing from him, he's getting the treatment and he's progressing fine. So with anything, what it is, but they're not releasing exactly what this stuff is. They still like really pushing the panic about it, but they're not telling you exactly what it is. And I know every time it's something about it jumping. It starts when an animal and jump to humans. That's question marks all over the place. That's how they said that the AIDS virus started, was from some animal somewhere jumping to humans. And that found out that was a lie. So anytime they come with that smoke screen, you better believe it came from somewhere else. And like I said, you just take it with a ground of smoke, with a ground of salt, with everything. Discern your information, be very discerning in these times, because there's a lot of information out there that you have to be mindful of, man. And it's just, when you deal with the age of the superbugs and all this other stuff and this crap that's going on right now, most of the times it break out in third world countries somewhere. Right. It breaks out. And you have cases of Ebola, which broke out in Western Africa and parts of Africa. And it wasn't indicative there, or it wasn't natural. They'll have these cases where they just explode right in a population and it goes outward. And there were books written on this. There's what's the name of the book that was written? Hold on here. Let me see if I can pull some of this up. It was a book that was written down here by let's see.
But then Truth wrote a book back in 1983 talking about the same thing that's happening. You talking truth, Q? This ain't no conspiracy theory. This talking truth. It's truth talk.
Yeah, it's a lot of information that's out there concerning stuff like this. It's another book out that I remember briefly reading. I didn't have the book; it was a friend of mine's book, but it's called Dr. Mary's Monkeys, which is a story about. It was a book written about this lady, and she was involved in research for Ashna Hospital, and it was behind the cancer, the cancer research that they were doing. And all of a sudden, cancer back then was very scarce, and then all of a sudden it's everywhere. So I mean, it's just absolutely insane. But at the end of the day, Brother Paul, we just have to stay prayed up, man, and understand that as a person that's a good person, you have enemies out there. Enemies, you never done them nothing. But they got people that's just full of demons, man. They won't bring hell upon regular people, and you got to meet them people, spirit to spirit, sometimes head to head, and you ain't gonna leave you alone. Sometimes it's just how I get. People don't want to hear that, but that's the reality of the scriptures. If you read the scriptures, and you know anything about the scriptures, you know they've been telling you that from the dawn of civilization, from the dawn of time. They've had those forces, both good and evil, and sooner or later they collapse. They always come in conflict with each other at a specialized point when they can't avoid each other. So is that point we're going to? We just have to, be patient, stay prayed up, and see. But yes, but go ahead, Brother Paul.
Like you said, Q, I paid attention in history class when I was in school. I paid attention in science and all that. Like I said, I'm over 40, so I ain't no fool. You got to tell me something else. So I don't believe that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you're right. I mean, you're right, Brother Paul. I mean, you look at, like you said, stuff that happened back in the day, dealing with stuff like this, the Tuskegee experiments and all this stuff. It's shady and rotten stuff that goes on. The experiments in St. Louis with the uranium, when they placed uranium all around urban areas in St. Louis to test the effects on human. I mean, all on people, all this kind of stuff you can research and find out for yourself. So I mean, it's not like it's it's not beyond the realm of possibility. But I mean,
you tell us to spare your library. Listen, whatever the family get a chance, the two things I want y'all to do: look up. You can Google it, or you can do it on YouTube. Look up two things: look up the Georgia Guidestones, and look up President Kennedy's speech on secret societies, and it's gonna tell you a whole lot. Whenever you get a chance.
Oh yeah, yep.
Which is one of the reasons he's not no longer with us.
Yep. I'm familiar with the Georgia Guidestones and President Clinton's speech on secret societies. That's true. Yep.
So there's some people that just like the old Batman movie, where Alfred would tell me, said, there's just some people you can't reason with them, you can't talk to them. They just want to see the world burn.
Well, that's the thing. That's the ones that got hell in them. That's the ones that got hell in them. That's the term that the old folk use. Say he got hell in them is another term, another way of saying he possessed by demons and he got demons in him. And a lot of times that's what they bring. And a lot of them feed off the pain. They like emotional vampires. They have to keep wars going. They'll feed off the pain and suffering of humanity. That's fuel for them. And they can't feed off of positive stuff like you do. They got to have the evil. So you got ones that bastards that have demons in them, and that's what they do. They create things like this and they do stuff like this, and good people have to meet them, and that's what's been happening. Why they haven't gotten as far as they got. Good people meet them and stump them down. So I mean, it comes to a point like we have to be vigilant about this. Just read the scriptures. Scriptures tell you, and of course, like I always say, build your library, man. Build your library, because now's the time when you're gonna need all that information. And if you need any answers, you build that library, you'll get them all. I'm telling you, I promise you that. I promise you.
Well, I'm telling you, like I said, I ain't touting one thing over another, but man, if you ain't got Christ in your life, most rich people are narcissistic anyway. If you really think about it, most real rich people, they think poor people are just scum of the earth and we shouldn't exist,
Yeah,
that's that. Don't believe it.
A lot of people don't understand that, man. This goes back. This is not nothing new. This goes back upon when you have the wealthiest and richest been driven crazy by their power and their money.
Right.
You know, and they call it they call it pushing past the Rubicon, when people go beyond the line of human sanity and sanity, and go beyond the line until they so rich they crazy and they think they can do whatever they want. See, there's no line in their head like with you. There's a line of morality. So they create these thought processes and say that they're better than you. This is in their literatures. I don't have to sit up here. I don't have an imagination big enough to tell you all this nonsense that I hear these people spew out in their books. But they wholesalely believe this foolishness, and they're going out and spending millions of dollars to implement it. All I can tell you. Now, once I leave you with that, that's up to you to figure out what the hell you're gonna do with it. It's on you now, Jack. It's on you.
True.
What they gonna say? Q told me. They can't say nobody warned me. Q told me, and the next thing you know, you see people falling falling through the floor all around you, and you said, "I don't know what's going on." Well, you better wake up, man. Understand there's some real stuff going on there.
Some people want their heaven on earth, Q, but I thought we supposed to be going to that place. Come on.
Some people think that the heaven and earth belong to them. Some people think that you shouldn't be here. That it's too many of you here. That you sucking up too much air. But when they come up with this stuff, they never want. If they feel like it's if it's too many people out there, then why don't you go jump off the cliff somewhere and get rid of a few of them? But they don't do that. They want you up out of here. So it's just
if the
what
world
it is.
coming to an end, why we worry about tissue and water? Now think about it.
If
the world coming to an end, why you ain't trying to get some food and some?
Maybe they're thinking it's death by constipation. I don't by. Maybe it's death by what you call it? But they need the toilet paper because they thinking it's death. It's just gonna be a crap fest everywhere, and they gonna need the toilet paper. Oh, it's absolutely insane, but that's what panicky people do.
You ain't got to worry about no.
You don't have to worry about.
They food in your body to worry about.
They gonna cook that toilet paper. They gonna eat it like it's noodles. That's what they gonna do. These people, it's insane, man. It's insane, man.
I'm telling you, Q, but like you said, that's why we got to be. The Bible tells us to be what? Wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. You know, a lot of people, they might not want to hear this, but Q, you know, I'm with you on that. We vibing on the same level tonight. I don't care what they say.
It's reality, but the family asking about a channel. They say, Q, you need a channel, dude. And the truth be told, family, I've been I've been kind of now. I'm a sports guy,
some of that out,
but
you got a lot of stuff.
It's a people. It's another show that we're gonna start. It's starting next month. It's called On Q with Big Q, and it's a show that we'll talk about issues like this. We'll talk about issues, sports related issues and stuff like that. That's not Saint or Pelican related. We'll have entertainment news and stuff. Talk about entertainment news. It'll be a 34-minute, maybe 30 or 40-minute show, but it won't be on YouTube. It'll be Spreaker or Patreon. You know, it won't be YouTube. Right, so I'm when the time comes,
you had to just kind of go for it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So when the time comes, I'm gonna share all the information with the family. I've been kind of telling the family in the last several broadcasts that the show is coming. It'll be starting in March. In April, and we'll cover a lot of that kind of stuff on there. So, but just a second, Brother Paul, we'll get another call. Okay, they just stopped. Go ahead, Brother Paul.
Yeah, it'd be cleared up by August. Roger Goodell, we got to get that football money now. Enough. This store, he the NFL, with October, no football. November, no football. Oh, they're going to have a fit.
Right.
No money coming in,
They have clauses. A lot of the leagues have doomsday clauses into their agreements, and they have a budget or a war chest saved to kind of keep the league going. It's weird how it is, because when you talk about the sport leagues and you deal with the sporting leagues, they're very prepared. Like it's really the people that get hit are the players, and that shows you at a level where we are. When you talk about the power of the athlete is leverage against the league, and the league is saving all this money so they can prepare. If you're a football league like the NFL, you went through plagues. The leagues, you went through famines, you went through wars when they had wars that was going on, and they know this people went through 100 years. They telling you I'm 100 years old. There's 100 years old in 100 years. They went through everything you can imagine, and they prepared for it. So this is nothing new to them, even though they didn't shut the league down, but they're very well prepared for it. The same with the NBA. They got a clause in it. The NBA is very old too, and MLB, all of them. So they have they got a chest and money and all that stuff set up to keep their leagues thriving for another 100 years. So they are most prepared. And plus, they get the information before your ass get the information. So of course they'll be there. Big ups to some of my family members joining the stream. Carlito, big ups to Carlito, Jesse Jackson, 985 Live. Good to see y'all family in the chat as well. Charles Mayfield, Jared Slack, Heavy C Henderson. Big ups to the family as well. Thanks for the sentiments on DJ Black and Mild. Like I said, as a brother, been knowing Black and Mild for a long time. Hadn't seen him, bro, since Hurricane Katrina, because a lot of us got mixed up and everything. And I heard matter of fact, Mozzie 5 text me yesterday or the day before that and say, man, DJ Black and Mild passed away. But he said he had symptoms of a pneumonia is what he used. And I asked him, I said, was it pneumonia or was it something else? And then he texted me the story linked to from NOLA.com. They did a story on it, which is the big news website down here, talking about him. And they said they confirmed that it was. He was 44 years of age, and that is young. So, and that's one of the things that did it. So a lot of the talk is as well, like I said, our food is our medicine. So if we eating good, we eating greens, we drinking water, we taking supplements, we doing stuff like that, we should be fine and staying prayed up. Another thing is too, older people know that the body can fight off just about any and everything with periods of fasting too. Fasting, because remember, most of the times we get sick, a lot of times we get sick is because of what we put into our bodies, the food that we eat. So if we can be able to allow the body to cleanse itself and purify the food, we'll be able to get rid of most of this. And of course, supplements, because most of the food that is really that good for you is so expensive that we can't afford to buy it like that. So it's cheaper to supplement. So if you can do some research for yourself and find out what supplements that you can buy that improve the respiratory system of your body or improve your overall immune system, then you're really winning then. And then you can find a way to kind of add that if you have children to your children diet to help them out as well. So this is ways that we don't have to sit here and take this and like this. We can be able to do research on it and we know,
Because rich folks got the top of the line, healthcare like probably even better than the president. Both of we got to look out for ourselves and one another. You know how it is.
Yeah, that's true, because most of the times, see, the politicians talk all the nonsense. Then they run up under the ground if something happens. See, you ain't do a damn thing to nobody in any other country. But if you talk a mean game and you start some shit with somebody over there and they won't send them something over here to knock out something, then you take the heat from it, not them. They go run under the ground somewhere. And that's a shame. But that's what kind of nonsense we're dealing with. That's why at the end of the day, the power rests with the people, never with nobody else. And the truth be told, the people don't need these people to stand over the top of them telling them that I'm better than you or this, that, and the third. Is absolute nonsense. These people don't think that they some kind of giants of the world. And that's because most regular folk let them have it by sitting there and not participating on the field where they know they're supposed to be. And nowhere in the world this kind of stuff should be going on. But the reality at the end of the day, people won't get up off, they knew what's until something drastic occurs. Like in most crime-ridden neighborhoods, our children, we got to do something about it. It ain't no weird group coming in the crime-ridden communities and doing something. That's them people. That's children. That's your own children there.
It's true, kid.
So if it's got to be something that's got to be instilled in people to make them understand the role in society, in their society, and in their community. And if you want to change the world, start in your own family. Start in your own family. Improve yourself. Improve yourself as a person. And then let that span out to your family. Educate yourself in terms of reading. You don't have to listen to everything everybody tell you, but go out and build your library. And then go from there. Whether it's health or whatnot, take the health in your own hands. It's your health. Take your health. You are the first doctor before you even see a doctor. When you go to a doctor, the doctor say, what's wrong with you? Well, my feet hurt, my head hurt. Oh, well, let me look at why you feed. He take what you say and then go off of what you say and then run tests to find out. You the first doctor. You know what you eating ain't what you ain't supposed to be eating. You know you can eat a little bit more exercise, drink a little bit more water. It's in your hands. So at the end of the day, the power always rests with you because you're the most powerful person in your universe. And that's when it comes down to. And we got to accept that as reality and follow it. If you don't accept that as reality and follow it, much like the sport nomenclature we talk about on a daily basis dealing with the Saints, is that we do impact sports as well as life. Because we could talk here together, the Great Saints Think Tank, and they have people that this will get to, and it'll get to where it belongs. The power of thought and spoken word goes far. The words of the people on the show go out all across the world and come back because they got people in Australia, the people in Iceland that listen to you, in Canada, and Mexico, all the on other sides of the world. Your voice is reaching out, your words is reaching out to areas that you never even set foot on. That's the power of the spoken word and technology we have. And it's our responsibility to provide a positive message and live our lives in a way where we represent a positive influence on the people around us. That's the best legacy that we can leave.
That's true, Q. And then you could just swing that right over there to the Saints. You know what, Q? I'm really surprised the move the Saints have made. They're like David Onyemata. I remember you had been saying even before the season was over with. So you said Saints fan, don't look for Onyemata to be here. You said, I just really don't think they're going to pay him and this, that, and all this here. And boom, so like you said, that tells me something. They must not be too much. The free agent market, especially for that position, must be razor thin for them to want to shell out all them. I wish they really gave him a 5-year contract, because I think he's going to be the cornerstone of defense, And they should have let Sheldon Rankins go too. I think he's gonna be next. I don't see him on this team next season. What do you think, Keith?
It'll be tough because you're right, Brother Paul. Because you have a lot of people you got to pay next year. When David Onyemata got read up, that let me know right now that of course if Sheldon Rankins do return, it'll be at a slightly cheaper contract by his own volition. Because David Onyemata, for truth be told, even though the flashiness goes to Super Sheldon with the shimmy. But David Onyemata worked his way up from the bottom to the top. I mean, he was raw as it gets, and he worked his way up and got a big contract. And that's a lot to say about Onyemata because he plays every down like it's his last. He's a bull. He refuses to be blocked. He's always in the backfield. And it'll be tough to bring Sheldon Rankins back based upon that. Plus, you have cheaper versions of Onyemata that'll be stepping up as well. So, if anything, this could be it for Sheldon Rankins.
I like that rotating on that line with a Shy Tubbs. That line's gonna be pretty good. Like you say, they need to get an impact lineman like a Chase Young or what have you in the draft to add to it. They can really build that defensive line up. Yeah, they're gonna need it. You're gonna need it.
Right.
Now you're going to do try to stop Gurley now. Come on now.
Yeah,
you've been saying the division figure get hot, but people wouldn't believe you, Q.
Well,
they wouldn't believe you.
It was to me it was commonsensical because the Saints dominated the NFC South 3 years in a row. When the time came, I knew that this would be the year. A lot of people were desperate. The Atlanta administration is really desperate. They didn't fire the coach. They was going to fire the general manager. They kept both of them. But this year's proven they have to win this year, so they're desperate.
It's the last year, last dance. You got it, Q.
Carolina was a team that also they fired that coach who had a history of taking his team to the playoffs. That was a bad move. They shouldn't have fired Riviera, but they fired a new owner, fired him, and brought in a college coach to replace him with a college offensive coordinator operating a pro-style offense. Now he has Teddy Bridgewater, McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and they had a few more pieces. They have a more promising future than our Atlanta team, who are a bunch of veterans, and now you take away, a guy like Coleman, and it just, and they like Ito Smith, and they still have weapons there. So, I mean, it's interesting, but Carolina, we knew they was going to do something impactful. And Tampa Bay was damn near desperate. They spent a lot of money on getting the wide receiver position straight with Mike Evans. Goodwin came up. They had O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. The offensive line was kind of a mishmash with Ali Marpet and a few Donovan. what's his name, and all the rest of them. So they had a few people holes on offensive line. They needed the fill. They got Robert Jones, the third, the running back from USC.
For most of the season, QI, he was throwing all these picks.
Well, that's true. They had the offensive line was suspect. You know, it really was. They had a really good running back in Robert Jones III out of USC, who's a guy that can run inside, outside, he can catch the ball, has some injuries. They might need some depth behind him, but the defense was doing a thing in terms of the secondary is kind of weak, but I do like their linebackers. But like I said, Tampa Bay is just, and the biggest change to Tampa Bay was the coaches. Bruce Arians came over, then the defensive coordinator was Todd Bowles, the former Jets head coach. He runs the defense there. So they actually had very good coaches there. Bruce Arians is a guy that's well respected in the league circles, as being a guy that works well with quarterbacks. Players love to work for Bruce Arians. So I knew eventually the rest of the division would do really desperate measures to catch up to the Saints. Yeah. And this is what this is.
People don't realize Tampa Bay the same quarterback quagmire as we are. You know, I give Brady and Breeze another 2 years, and they're gonna be gone. So Tampa Bay, don't be surprised if they get a quarterback in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised, Q.
Wouldn't be surprised either because even though they have Brady for the short term, it would be a smart move for them to add a quarterback to kind of learn behind them. And so it would be smart for the Saints because it's really not just for a battle of now, it's a buying of time as well. So you have they buying time. Drew Brees is buying the Saints some time maybe this year, perhaps the next year based upon how they finish this year. And you can get a quarterback ready to go in a year or two. In this philosophy, you're running them around as veterans because the Saints, the theme of free agency for the Saints was veterans and experience because that's what they did. Mm-hmm. They came back and got with guys that they know. They know about Malcolm Jenkins because he was here. They've been following him. They know he could play in this system, in this set down here. They know about Emmanuel Sanders. These are both veteran, productive guys that can mentor their younger teammates. They know about David Onyemata. They developed him into a stud starting defensive tackle. They knew about Andrus Peat. They developed him into a two-time Pro Bowl offensive guard who really was a tackle that they converted to guard and became a Pro Bowler at the guard.
So everybody had him on a taxi out of New Orleans, but look at here.
Surprise. He back in effect. It's the weirdness of free agency, though, brother Paul. It's weird. It's the free agency because he hung out there.
If I had $1,000 for every player that came over here that did like Andrus Peat, I'd have been all right. I'm sick of it. He ready to go. He missed this block. He the one got Drew hand hurt and all this guy.
Right. But look at him.
Yeah.
It's more plus. I've always said it's one of my favorite sayings, more pluses than minus. Andrus Peat represent more pluses than minus, but he's a guy that's been singled out a lot, because his technique is not as good as it is because truth be told, the man was a tackle. He was a very good tackle that they converted to a guard, and he became a Pro Bowl guard. He still need to work out some stuff. But my thing is, if you pay him this money, what kind of Andrus Peat you'll get going ahead? And I think you'll get the best version of Andrus Peat that you've ever seen because the Saints offensive line is intact there and whole. You got Peat for 5 years, Armstead on that same side with him for another 2 years. You got McCoy in the center on a rookie year deal for about 3 more years. You have right side Larry Warford 1 more year on this deal. Right tackle Ryan Ramczyk, they'll extend out. So you still have the Saints offensive line that Drew Brees was familiar with over the last several years. And this offensive line can run the ball and they can pump through. So like I say, this is pretty good.
But you know what, Q? That's the injuries with Armstead, Warford, and you're going to have Drew. Mm-hmm. I don't see Drew playing all 16 games this season. And then, you have the next year after that, it's going to be, 17 weeks to add to the season? I don't see it, man. You see, Q, it's like the Saints getting behind the 8 ball. You're going to have to draft a younger, mobile quarterback. Why are you still trying to run the old 80s, 49er offense when people are doing something different now? You got to be innovative. What you think, Q?
They have to innovate, no doubt about it. They have to innovate, and a part of the innovation is the truth be told is Sean can still do a lot of the same stuff that he's been doing. All he has to do is learn to run the ball with it. Not even 50% of the time, but at least at least 40% of the time, run the ball to help your offense out. Because the offensive line is a better running than blocking line, in my opinion. They love to run block. And if you give them the ball, they love to run block.
If see that, they need a pair of glasses. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But they come to run the ball, the same can do a pass protection, not so much. Because you know what? Drew ain't got that quick release like he used to have. Now people ain't bringing that out, but I'm going to bring it out tonight. He ain't got that quick release to get the see the receiver, boom, get it out of there. He's not doing it like he used to. And age got a big part of that. What you think?
It's a portion of it, but what helps Drew out with his quick release is the clock in his head when he goes to his one quarterback, his 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and then ultimately gets rid of the football. That's something that helps him from getting sacked, but he takes a beating, when he does do that, when he holds the ball a little longer, because he can't move. He can slide a little bit and tilt a little bit, but he can't move, and it's up to him to get rid of the ball. But before they coming in, even if you don't see nothing there, throwing the ball to the sideline incomplete, just getting rid of the ball and being smart with it. That's a portion of it.
Steve Young said it years ago. He called it pocket pressing. When you take that snap and drop back, there's only so many seconds for the heat get to you, and you got to get rid of that ball.
That's true.
A lot of quarterbacks don't have it. And you know what? Carolina going to find out about Bridgewater. He better learn how to get that mental clock and get it out of there, because if he hold the ball too long, they're going to say, man, what we give him all this money for? What you think?
The reality is that's true. Bridgewater does have the propensity to hold the ball too long and will take a sack. So we know that much about him being, just like about the Saints offense, the pluses of the Saints offense, we know about the minuses of Teddy Bridgewater, so it goes with each other. We know that he has the propensity to hold the ball too long if you put pressure on him. That is his decision process breaks down, and that's the case. So it depends on how Carolina uses its offense, how it runs its offense. Perhaps they didn't turn around and utilize the offense in a way where they're running the ball and create the balance that the Saints didn't give, the Saints gave Teddy Bridgewater during his 5-game appearance. If they take the pressure off of him and he just simply turns into a game manager, they can have success that way. But the Saints have to put pressure on Teddy Bridgewater and anybody else. It don't make a difference if you're Tom Brady or Matt Ryan or Mahomes or anybody else. You have to put pressure on the quarterback to get a better chance of winning the game. Bottom line, you must do it.
Because a lot of fans seem to forget when the Saints won the Super Bowl in 2009, going into 2010, they had great pass rush. Yep. Quarterback knew they couldn't hold that ball too long because you were getting pressure from the D-line, the linebackers, and even the safeties. And Saints would even bring a corner blitz every now and then and get to the quarterback.
Correct.
Now, you know how long it takes for that play to develop.
Right. That's right.
But I'm just hoping they get somebody to draft. Who you think can do that, man? I mean, maybe not. We can't get a Lawrence Taylor or Ricky Jackson, but I wish they could get close to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I figure on that, Brother Paul. I think, it depends because you're so far back in the draft, and I think you're in a position where you take the best player that's available that can help you. But the Saints fulfilling so many needs in free agency, it kind of gave them some flexibility in terms of who they could choose there. My preference is if there's a quarterback there, take him. But if you can move up and like I said, my scenario is that I would want to get another running back. I would like to get another running back behind Alvin Kamara that can do similar things to Alvin Kamara. There are a bunch of them in there. My personal favorite would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU because he runs in between, catches the ball out the backfield. I would love to have that guy. Really, but I think he's a draft pick that'll go.
Boy. I like that.
He would be gone. I think he'd be gone no later than the second. He'd be in the second round for you if you had a second round pick to get him. He's instant offense for your team. He provides that Darren Sproles type of asset that you would like to have. Who can kick return, punt return. He gives you a speed asset. You can line him up at wide receiver. He is a terrific pick, and I think he'll be gone in the second round. So hopefully the Saints can acquire some more picks some kind of way and move up there to see if they can get him. That would be a good pick. They still need a quarterback, and perhaps I keep saying if they can have a pass rusher fall to them, if they don't address the pass rush situation in free agency, please address it in the draft, high in the draft. You need another. I don't care if they say we just drafted Davenport, draft another one. Because you need a pass rush if you don't get them in free agency. My personal preference is I would love to just sign, Griffin or Golden and bring them in here and let them help the pass rush. I would do that, and then do we fill out the rest of the defense offense through the draft. But that pass rusher, you can't play with that pass rusher, just like you can't play with that veteran wide receiver opposite of Mike Thomas. Yeah, you need a pass rusher, man. You need that opposite.
Like your car, Q. You can't get the tires, then the windshield bust out and fix the windshield, then the spare go out, then the motor. Every time you fix something more worse will go bad. Saints need to fix that,
Yes, no doubt. I mean, that's what it comes down to, brother Paul. We as a squad, we done. The Saints have done they've done a phenomenal job of getting guys that we didn't think they would want to get. You keep hearing about young compliments to a guy like Mike Thomas, not an older wide receiver, like a guy 2 years younger than Ted Ginn Jr. You were looking at. Some guys say, yeah, he could help. A lot of people wanted him last year. Truth be told is, if you'd have got him last year, you'd have been doing yourself a disservice because you'd have to give up a third and a fourth to land him like San Francisco did, but it did get him to the Super Bowl. It cost them. But then again, they made it back when they traded what's his name to get paid. So like I say, at the end of the day, it depends. It depends on, how desperate are you or how motivated are you to be able to see or have a vision for a guy in a draft that you could want. Because
that's so true, Q, because, the over there airline, they ain't got their thinking caps on, Q, because this, whatever Kamara could go south at any time, real south. And then he may decide, hold out, and then say, hey, you know what? I ain't got to put up this food and trade me. You just never know, kid.
It could. And my thing is, instead of prolonging it, let's just get to the point where we have the discussion with the player, Kamara and name, and find out what he wants. Or better yet, start the discussion by offering him a contract. And then there'll be discussions on what he want to do. And he said, well, we have, yeah, we don't have, and they're waiting. And the time is going to be like McCaffrey. McCaffrey said he ain't reporting to camp without a new contract. So Carolina don't have a team without McCaffrey. They know that. And McCaffrey knows that because all of the offense circulates through him. So he has him over a barrel, which means that how do you replace that? You don't. So he knows what. So he
may decide to hold out, or he didn't. These guys, they ain't dumb. They got a nest egg of money that they can hold out with, but they ain't family, they ain't going hungry. But you know what? Hey, he might come to an impasse and decide to demand a trade too. You just never know with these players and the agents. Q.
It's already been rumored that the Carolina Panthers are thinking about trading him. But what could you get from? That's the whole thing. What's the trade value for a Christian McCaffrey? So, I mean, the bottom line is you never know. It's a crazy league. You didn't think that DeAndre Hopkins would end up in Arizona for David Johnson. It's just insanity going on. So it wouldn't surprise me if they trade McCaffrey, to be honest with you. After what have we seen?
I thought the Texans would at least tender Hopkins. They wouldn't even do that,
Yeah. Yep.
That's amazing, Q. Like I said, at the end of the day, Q, it all comes down to the money. The price ain't right. The player and the agent ain't going to go along with it, and so is the front office. You got to get that right number, but then you got to be producing, Q. You can't go out there. You had 3 tackles last year and 1 sack and go out there and ask for a $50 million contract. You're crazy. Something wrong with you. You don't have the production. You don't have the numbers. You had an attitude in the locker room all last year. Nobody don't want to be bothered with that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a mess. It's a mess. And then, like you said, like the Rams, you got all these folks. Now you're getting rid of Gurley. You're going to get rid of Brockers. Now you got to unload all these folks. And basically, you're rebuilding without saying it. That's what they don't realize, Q.
Mm-hmm.
They really rebuild.
Yep, pretty much.
Now you got to start all over. So I'm glad the Saints ain't in that situation, but it ain't gonna look too good, you know.
And remember, it's a learning curve with all these movements, especially when Carolina needs to pay McCaffrey. Now the Saints have a little bit more leverage in terms of what they can do with Alvin Kamara. Even though they're very similar in the production, even though I think McCaffrey is heads, it might be shoulders above Kamara. I just love the way his mentality is, how he performed last year, and the team didn't have a shot to make the playoffs, but he was still playing. Mm-hmm.
And it did cute, you know. Coach Rule, he shooting himself in the foot. If you think you gonna get Teddy Bridgewater and don't give him no running game to help him, you shooting yourself in the foot now.
Right. So you got to have McCaffrey. Any success in Carolina starts with McCaffrey, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm.
Telling you, Q. So it ain't gonna be like they think it is. You know, like I said, a lot of these players jumping over there, Carolina, Atlanta, and all that. They gonna be what they think it is. Some of them gonna wish they'd stay at home. You know.
Right.
Because like I say, they still on the move, but like I say, they got to make the right decision, Q, because it's critical time here. Remember that 5-year window we used to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's down to about maybe 2 or 3 years now. It's got cut big time. What you think?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And they have to make and that's the thing. When they have the pressure of winning now, which represents why so many veterans who have playoff experience are in the house. That played in big game experience in the house. So you have a transition in terms of transitioning from the older player regime to a newer kind of it's not a totally newer player, because you're gonna have a lot of players that's on the team that are right in the middle of their or in the prime of their careers right now. But the quarterback situation is a very unique situation, especially in the city of New Orleans. You want to turn that over to a young quarterback that has the ability to be able to throw the ball deep, who's smart and intelligent to handle Sean Payton's offense, who's a leader, and who's a guy with an incredible resume when it comes down to the matters of football. And there's a handful of guys that handle it, and the one that could be available for you is the guy that played for Oklahoma last year. So maybe if the Saints can address some of these moves and do it the right way, they could set this team up for the next 5 to 10 years on tremendous amounts of success and keep the ball rolling, because they can handle it.
You don't want to have to rebuild in the middle of this thing like this. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'm agreeing.
You don't want to have to rebuild, Q. You know, and whenever you get a chance, Q, what's the Saints' average age? I don't know if I know they're hopefully not one of the oldest teams in the league, but I don't think they're the youngest either.
Let me see. I think that they're not the oldest team in the league. Let me pull that up here, because I think I was looking at the.
You know, probably about 30, 31.
Yeah, let me look it up, because I was looking at something similar to that last week sometime about the average age on the team.
But you don't want to be long in the tooth, especially like quarterback, running back. Those are skill positions. You don't want everybody at 32 at their position. You really don't.
26.2.
That's not too bad.
That's not too bad at all. They're saying 26.2.
That's not too bad. But everybody else get younger Q, so I don't see why the Saints shouldn't. You know what I mean? This is a fact of life. You just can't keep doing this. I mean, these guys, already played 10 years, 32, 33 years old, up and down. I mean, the body can only take so much,
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. What it comes down to, Brother Paul, I think the Saints know what they're doing, hitting on in terms of mixing that average, age, that experience with that youth. And they're hopefully that could be able to create a good mix where they win it. Well, the last couple of years it worked, because they won 26 games in the last 2 years, had 2, and they've been in the playoffs 3 years straight. They hadn't had the result that we would want, but still in all, the truth is that the Saints have been in the playoffs, and they have enjoyed that window. So, I mean, I think it's a good mix of talent, to be quite honest with you.
They just got to flip that philosophy. Success, not just regular season. The success that the fans really want and the league really look at is playoffs. Don't come telling me you won, 14, 15 games, and then you first round, you out.
Mm-hmm.
How you think about it? The Ravens went 15 or 2 last year. Just think they got bounced out the first round, And it's crazy. And then, you had more than one team won 13 games in the NFC last year. It was crazy, kid.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
You don't want to put yourself in that position again. You know, like I said, if you beat Atlanta, if you beat the 49ers, you would have never had to play that game. You could have rested up and all that. You got to make better decisions in the playoffs. Don't just give me this, gravy and rice during the season, and then, just poo-poo on me in the playoffs. Don't do that. I'm serious. I mean, it's like feast and famine. I mean, you have a feast during the season, then you get to the playoffs and it's a famine. Come on, man. Like I said, Q's fans ain't gonna keep putting up with it. I'm gonna tell you, it really ain't. But like I said, the money, let the ticket sales start dropping, let the merchandise sales go dropping. Then you see your airline drive get their head on right, and start making some better decisions.
Well, they got.
That's all.
Yep, that's Brother Paul. I appreciate you calling, man, and dropping that wisdom as always, my friend. Be safe out there, man.
Oh yeah. All right, you too. Who that name?
Who that? That's Brother Paul, man. Chiming in. Good to see the historian chime in. And I like to and thank all of our callers today. Drew Goddamn Breeze got the ball rolling. DLP dropping knowledge. Iceman in the building as well. DJ. Big ups to DJ and the historian himself, Paul, dropped in to say what's happening to the family. So big ups to all the beautiful Black and Gold family members for chiming in the live stream, man. We are 15 minutes for 4 hours. We had a pretty damn good show. I'd like to thank all the beautiful Black and Gold family members for chiming in this thing tonight on the Sports Coma. Had a pretty good show, man. And I hope that we entertained you guys and gave you some good football insight. We covered quite the amount of stories today on the show. And for those who missed it, allow me to do a quick synopsis of what we covered today. I'm going to start off that early on we covered Emmanuel Sanders accepting a 2-year deal worth $16 million. He passed up on the Cowboys and the Packers to choose the Saints according to various reports. And the contract has a propensity or an ability to go up to $19 million dealing with incentives. So big ups and welcome to New Orleans to Emmanuel Sanders. The second story we dealt with, of course, the Saints agreed to terms with Andrus Peat, versatile offensive lineman Andrus Peat, on a 5-year contract that makes him one of the top paid offensive guards in the NFL. The 2-time Pro Bowl alternate came back to New Orleans after a very suspect and weird free agency period in which the Saints decided to say ultimately to bring Andrus Peat back to his normal position. So welcome back, Andrus. And we expect to see the best out of Andrus Peat moving ahead. So that's one of the things. Also, a big shout out to Sean Payton as he was tested positive for the virus and says that he's feeling better. Of course, Coach Payton is quarantined in his place and he is fighting this virus. And we hope and send our prayers out to our coach. We lambaste him and get on him, but we love our coach, man. And we hope that Coach Payton has a speedy recovery. That's most certain the truth. Also, the Saints agreed to 1-year deals with both Justin Hardy, the special teams ace, and Michael Burton, the fullback. Burton competed with Zach Lyon last year for the fullback position. Ultimately, Zach Lyon beat him out. Now Burton will compete with undrafted fullback Ricky Ortiz, who came over from Atlanta last year. So we'll see who gets that. Burton's an old school type of fullback that punches holes open. I hope the Saints utilize him and put him ahead of Latavius Murray and allow that to run, man. You know what I'm saying? But getting Justin Hardy back and Michael Burton does answer some needs secondary. In the secondary for Hardy provides depth, and Michael Burton plays special teams as well, as he will compete for the starting fullback job. I think unless they sign an undrafted guy, it might be Michael Burton's job to lose. And of course, we talk about the Saints picking up the fifth-year options for first-round draft picks Marshawn Lattimore and Ryan Ramczyk in various reports, as the Saints look to lock up these two really good cornerstones of their young team. So that'll happen hopefully in the next 12 to 15 months. They'll get both of these studs locked up for long contracts in the Big East. Also, the Saints, with all the pluses, we have a minus to report on. The Saints lose after deciding not to tender wide receiver Keith Kirkwood he signs with his former college coach, Rule, in Carolina, and he will be joining Teddy Bridgewater there as well. So it's sad to see Keith Kirkwood leave. He was a guy that I had a lot of, a lot of high praise for in terms of our young wide receivers. I thought Keith Kirkwood could really be something special. And it's too bad we'll see him lining up for the Panthers. But big ups to Keith Kirkwood as he moves ahead in his career. And of course, our final story that we covered was this. We know about the signing of Malcolm Jenkins, but did people realize that despite the fact that Malcolm Jenkins signed, did they know that Von Bell was offered a contract before Malcolm Jenkins was? Von Bell turned the contract down. The Saints turned to Malcolm Jenkins. So Von Bell wanted more money. The Saints said nope. And Von is still a free agent. Rumors have him headed to Carolina next. So that's some of the stories that we covered here on the Sports Coma edition. So I'd like to thank all the beautiful Black and Gold family members for chiming up as well to the show today. We had a really great turnout. Good to see all the beautiful Black and Gold family members in this live stream today. Big ups to the family. Of course, we know that we're dealing with a lot of stuff going on in the world today, but remember, you know who you are and what you are, and just think about drinking more water, buying some stuff, some empowering yourself supplements, and learning more. Stay astute, get your prayer game going, and and understand what this is. So I'd like to thank all the beautiful Black and Gold family members for chiming in a live stream tonight. If you like the show, if you love the content, and you want to help the platform progress and grow, please feel free to go to patreon.com/the PRO Media Network. It's Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/the PRO Media Network for more information, where you can go there and get information how to become a patron. Or you could donate $1 or $5 or $10 or whatever else. You get more information at that link, patreon.com/the PRO Media Network. So also to let the family members know that if you are a person that like to listen to the audio streams, you can feel free to go to Spreaker. That's Spreaker.com/the Sports Coma. That's SPREAKER.com/the Sports Coma, where you can listen to a backlog of shows from the Sports Coma, the Pelican Post Game Report, Ring Kings Boxing World, and Tough Tiger Talk, all available on our audio platform. Not to mention, we also are found on iHeartRadio, Castbox, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcast providers. We are there as well. So I'd like to thank all the beautiful Black and Gold family members for chiming in as well. And of course, if you want to also help the show, you can feel free to go to our Pro Shop. The Pro Shop is the official store of the platform, where you can buy gear, t-shirt. There are over 30 different designs available, shirts and all kind of stuff, coffee mugs. There are literally dozens of hundreds of products that are available on the Pro Shop. By shopping at the Pro Shop, it empowers the platform, and all funds that are made at the Pro Shop goes right back into building a very sound, round, and great platform for the family members. So I like to thank all the beautiful Black and Gold family members for chiming in a live stream tonight. As usual, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all stay safe. Be mindful of your surroundings, and don't be fearful. If anything, this is the wrong time to be caught up in fear. It's now the time to be brave. It's time to be empowered. And that's what we do in times of really tough difficulties. Never engage in fear. Become smarter and stronger, wiser, and let courage guide you. Tap in and tune into and develop your relationship with the Creator at this point, and gain knowledge that way. Don't believe the idiot box and all this other stuff going on out here in the fear gathering, the fear mongering, because that's how they use to scare people, is to control people. Understand that. So get back in touch with the Most High. Be smart, study, exercise a little bit more, get into them supplements, find out about those supplements as well. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for all that y'all do. And remember, man, the new show, we'll still be doing all the regular shows that we've been doing, which is the Sports Coma and all our regular shows, but I am introducing strictly a audio show that'll be available on patreon.com and Spreaker. So if you want to hear it, you're not going to hear it here on YouTube on our platform. You will have to go to our Spreaker, join there, or you will have to join the Patreon to listen to the show. It's called On Cue with Big Q, and we'll cover all kind of stuff, NFL topics, NBA topics that's not Saints or Pelicans, stuff outside the Saints Pelicans world, maybe some stuff on, maybe a few items on boxing. We usually do that on Ring Kings Boxing World, and stuff outside LSU for college talk, but entertainment stuff, we'll touch on that stuff and other news as well, you know, but won't be a round show. It'll be, we'll hit one topic, talk about one topic. It's a 30-40 minute thing. It'll be coming out in April. On Cue with Big Q. It'll be available on Spreaker.com or Patreon.com. So please check out that as well. So thank y'all for joining me tonight. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Keep your hearts and minds open. Don't fear. Keep your courage up. We're going to make it through this as usual. I love y'all. Who that to you? Peace. I'm out.
Yeah. Well, all right. Like you always say, welcome, welcome, welcome. Number one sports talking D. We ain't like the Falcons, we won't blow the lead. Look, all we talk is who that, who got cut and who back. Rookies in the vets, players you should look at. It's the Sports Coma, you don't wanna miss it. Got the pre-game party, post-game statistics. Get a visit from Sway, maybe DC or 5. It's the hottest thing smoking, Big Q and the guys. Go to YouTube Live, make sure you subscribe. Interviews inside the Saints locker room high. Talk to Drew, Jordan, Zach, Payton, New Orleans, who that nation. Best believe when I say we bleed gold and black. Ain't a miracle or rivalry could ever hold us back. No, Beastquake, Bounty Gate, let the truth be told. It's the Sports Coma, all we know is Saints Super Bowl.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PR